In some European airports, they still have those, things they flip around.
You know what you should do with this thing? You should open it up, take it apart, put it in a suitcase, and ask one of your kids to take it to school, see what happens.
Yeah, do that.
Well, of course, we all know that daylight savings time is purely an elitist move.
Yeah, and every year I promise the same thing, and I have managed to fail to deliver one more time.
You mean on the true reasoning behind daylight saving time?
Well, the true reasoning, a lecture about the true reasoning, plus a number of clips, which I have on a reel-to-reel tape someplace in the basement. A number of clips of celebrities in the 1930s who all recorded their bitching and complaining about daylight savings time.
Huh.
On both sides of the argument.
I read an article this morning that says, without doubt, it is there is proof that when we spring forward, so what is that, April or whenever we do that? March?
They change it.
Yeah. Of course, it's never the same date either. So when we spring forward, there's a 25% increase in heart attacks. Subsequently, when we fall backwards, there's a 21% decrease in heart attacks.
Well, we should just keep falling backwards every year. Just
keep
now,
on falling back slowly, until everyone's on the same time.
Yeah, take 25. You do it twice a year. Take 12 and a half years, and you'd be.
Well, I'm convinced still. It's just a bunch of elitists sitting around going, "Watch what we'll make these idiots do now." Set your clocks back. It's important. Okay, boss. The money, boss. There's no other reason for it. So we're drowning here in Central Texas.
Yeah, give us a little background. You're in the middle of one of the biggest storms in the history of Texas.
Well, the storm is gone. It's passed.
But now it's flooded.
I saw pictures of actually Friday.
What about your old house? Did you check it out?
No, I did not actually. I didn't check it out.
I'll bet you it's flooded.
No, because it's on a hill, so it would flow downstream. But yeah, it was pretty bad. And Friday, there was no traffic. Friday night, because I can look down at a parking lot here in downtown, which unfortunately I will have to move if this bond gets voted in. They want to build a 14-story courthouse right in front of my building. Well, I'm not going to stick around for that construction.
Oh, no, you wouldn't be able to get any sleep.
And no, it's horrible. But there were no cars. And then last night, Halloween, I mean, even on a Saturday night, around 9 o'clock, you'll see the parking lot is starting to get full. It was like everyone drowned. There's just no one left in Austin. It was very, very peculiar.
Huh.
But yeah, we had real flooding. We had, cars floating away, and yeah, not great.
Did you hear the one with the guy in the tree?
No.
Oh. It's all over the net. It's because it's so humorous. So they're doing a local report on some guy reporting on his being flooded out of his car. And as he's about halfway through the report, the guy says, "And so where are you now? Are you safe?" And the guy says, "No, I'm in a tree."
Yeah.
Waiting for it. So you're in a tree. And the guy says, "Oh, I was an Eagle Scout. I know how to sit in trees for hours. I'll just wait."
Okay.
It was actually quite funny. They got on the national news on the 3x3.
No, I didn't see that. No, but it's too busy for chasing down a lot of things happening. This, as we, well, first of all, it is a new month. Maybe I should give a quick rundown of presidential proclamations that have come out. It's going to be quite a busy month.
Okay, go.
And of course, these presidential proclamations are official. They're the real deal. And they usually coincide with something that's intended to happen in the month legislation-wise. Although I'm not so sure if there's anything big about National Adoption Month, which is the month of November. National College Application Month. Wow! What an insight. Isn't this the month when everyone applies?
Yeah, these are for college applications for next year.
Huh.
Because college is in session, so you wouldn't apply now, right?
I don't know. Let me see what the president...
No, you wouldn't. So
let's see what the president says.
This is what it's come to. They've made these kids, besides breaking them financially, now to get into these colleges, you have to apply...
A year early
and hope for the best. And then the later you apply, the less chances you have. And so you end up going to some school you didn't want to go to. It's horrible.
And going back to, was it Roosevelt's military-industrial complex speech, which you've always said... originally, the draft stated military-industrial academic complex.
Yeah.
So let's see. Our nation, says the president, was built on the idea that no matter where you come from or what you look like, you can make it if you try. Yeah.
We're Sly Stone when we need it.
Good one. Nice reference. Expanding access to affordable higher education is key to safeguarding this ideal. A college degree is the surest ticket to the middle class.
Whoa.
What a statement. Hold on.
Where did this go? That was Obama?
This is the proclamation. This is the official...
crap, what a thing to say.
I'll reread. A college degree is the surest ticket to the middle class. Yes, you too can be mediocre, my friend.
Jeez.
And broadening paths to education so more people have the chance to earn post-secondary degrees and credentials is the best way to make sure all our people can contribute to writing our country's next great chapters. During National College Application Month, we pledge our support for those across America who are taking steps towards earning a degree, and we continue our work to ensure all Americans can access the tools and resources necessary to make informed decisions about college. Okay, so this is what I do. My administration has made it a priority to equip aspiring college students and their families with data on college costs, value, and admissions so they can make choices that are right for their futures and their budgets. Slavery. What kind of slave do you want to be? Long-term slave? Big-time slave? Medium slave? No matter what slave, you're going to the middle class. Isn't that sad? I thought the middle class...
This guy's the same guy who said... just getting by is the American dream.
Man, we should look that one up. Getting by. I'm sure we have it somewhere. Obama. Just getting by. How old was that?
It was about 3 years ago.
Yeah, I may not have any.
It was a reference to...
Yeah, I should have that one handy. I'll look for that and make sure I have it for the next show. Anyway, let's move on from National College Application Month to National Apprenticeship Week. Well, this is interesting. At the heart of our nation's promise lies a simple truth. It sounds very much like the one we just read. If you work hard, you can get ahead, earn a decent paying job, and secure a brighter future for yourself and your family. To make this promise real, our economy has to work for everyone, and that begins with providing all our people with the tools and resources they need to utilize their unique talents to contribute to our country's success. Oh, this is if you're below college material. So this is straight into the poverty class, I guess.
Well, during the olden days of apprenticeship.
Here it is. During National Apprenticeship Week, we recognize the ways apprenticeships foster innovation and prosperity, and we recommit to encouraging and supporting those who offer and partake in them.
The way you can get an apprenticeship now is you have to move to China.
87% of apprentices find employment after completing their program, and their average starting wage is above $50,000.
Well, let's burn the college grads.
Yeah. When you think about it, you can get a job for maybe $65,000, but you're paying $700 a month on loans. Here, National Diabetes Month.
Actually, I think if you do the average income of a recent college grad, I don't think it's that high.
Really? That's sad. Well, it is also National Military Family Month. Of course it has to be that, because we're going to be sending more of our children off to sand. So, hey, family, here's a month for you while we take your fathers, husbands, sons, daughters, mothers, wives, and send them off to Syria. Suckers.
Let's talk about that next.
Yeah. National Native American Heritage Month. That means Elizabeth Warren would probably be registering
she'll be all in on that one.
Yeah, Pocahontas. It is National Alzheimer's Disease Month. And then finally, and this is the one that...
What was that again?
National Alzheimer's Disease... Yeah, the fucking... In the morning, I was thinking I could make the punchline, but you slid it by me. I didn't even realize. Very good. And then finally, by the President of the United States of America proclamation, our nation's critical infrastructure is central to our security and essential to our economy. Technology, energy, and information systems play a pivotal role in our lives today. And people continue to rely on physical structures that surround us, from roadways and tunnels to power grids and energy systems to cybersecurity networks and other digital landscapes. It is crucial we stay prepared to confront any threats to America's infrastructure. During Critical Infrastructure Security and Resilience Month, we rededicate ourselves to safeguarding our infrastructure by staying attentive, alert, and ready to respond to any threats towards our homeland and our assets. And this, of course, comes right in time for
it says homeland and wait. It says homeland and assets.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Towards our homeland and our assets. I think our assets are assets anywhere, not necessarily in the homeland.
I see. It's some overseas thing.
Okay. So ensuring a country has a secure and stable infrastructure is essential to our national security efforts. Let's see what else. Well, this makes nothing but sense. In fact, I saw that we now have the cybersecurity strategy in place. The new CIO, the federal CIO, Tony Scott, has unveiled this new strategy, and it pretty much we're going to now have a new agency. What is the name of this agency? Oh, it's okay. We have more like a concept called CSIP. These guys better come up with some better acronyms. That's the Cybersecurity Strategy and Implementation Plan that defines a major cybersecurity breach, directs agencies to report such breaches. So there's a lot of process in there. It's a $50 billion plan we're rolling out. But the way I read it, it's kind of going to wrap around everybody else's cybersecurity. This is Einstein 3A will now be implemented, whatever the heck that is. Einstein. Here we go. Rolling out Einstein 3A to all agencies by the end of 2015. A government-wide cyber incident response. If something happens within any department of the government that is a breach, they have to report it to Congress within 7 days. But really, it's going to be a centralized buying portal.
Hold on. They have to report it to Congress within 7 days. The country could be decimated in 7 days if it was a real cyber attack.
I know, but I'm just.
Shouldn't they have to do it within an hour?
No, I'm just telling you what it says.
All right.
7 days
it is.
But really, they're going to build this CISP. Let's call it KISP. No, CSIP. CSIP. That's stupid. CSIP. Here it is. Prioritize identification and protection of high-value assets and information, timely direction and rapid response to cyber incidents. So they'll be the rapid response team. It's going to be a cluster, you know what. Rapid recovery from incidents when they occur and accelerated adoptions, recruitment and retention of the most highly qualified cybersecurity workforce talent.
They can't get these people to work for them, and
because they all smoke weed.
If they would work for them, they wouldn't get in because of their background check.
Yeah. Really, when I think of all the systems that are in place and how, I guess in the UK now the TalkTalk internet service provider, they had a hack and 4 million user or customer records were stolen or exfiltrated. And it turns out some 15-year-old script kiddie. I mean, really what people don't understand is that once we get this Internet of Things, whatever that's going to be integrated, that is the final piece of this global Rube Goldberg machine that we call the Internet. Because it's really true. Shit is bootstrapped onto bootstraps, onto hacks, onto into things that have been kind of working for years, and this does not bode well. Where the hell is Kaczynski's new book? I can't wait.
That's going to do a world of good. Today, Theodore Kaczynski, crackpot murderer, wrote another book. Or wrote a book. He never wrote the first one. But that's going to have huge impact.
Anyway, so that is so we can look forward to lots of cyber stuff going on this month, along with CISA, the cyber.
So much for the internet's ability to stop these things from being implemented.
Oh, we live in horrible times. We really do. The internet has only made propaganda and other bullcrap that much easier. Witness the.
If Dickens was alive today, it was the worst of times and the worst of times.
and the outlook was not bright. It was dark. But witness what happened with this Russian Metro jetliner coming down. Which I can't really say too much about because we really just don't have much information. But the first thing that happens is Rita Katz from the Site Intelligence Group, the frustrated Iraqi Jew who
that's where that came from.
That's where the tweet came from. She discovered the tweet that ISIS said they had brought this down with the Bogota video, which I think that video must have been 10 or 12 years old, of the plane blowing up in the sky.
I had somebody tweet me about this. They said something about, and I said, yeah, this makes
was that the actual tweet? Oh.
Yes. I said, this makes nothing but sense. They're getting their asses handed to them by Russian fighters and even our jets coming in, and they don't want to bother to shoot them down.
No, of course not.
But they'll shoot down some airliner at 31,000
feet. Sure. Yeah.
It makes sense.
But I can say that something obviously happened. And you're just looking.
I have the plane wreck backgrounder here. You can play.
Okay, that's good. Listen to that.
Good evening. We begin tonight with yet another tragedy in the skies. This time, a Russian plane crashed in Egypt, claiming the lives of all 224 people on board. Most of the passengers were Russians. 25 were children. They had just departed the Red Sea resort of Sharm el-Sheikh when the plane went down 23 minutes after takeoff. Russian President Vladimir Putin has declared tomorrow a day of mourning as investigators comb through the wreckage, recovering the bodies and looking for answers. NBC's Bill Neely starts us off tonight from Cairo.
In a barren desert, the mangled remains of a plane that was carrying 224 people. Their clothes scattered, their cell phones ringing in the debris. No one survived to answer.
I thought this guy was over-dramatizing it.
Yeah, I've heard similar reports where the phones were just on the ground ringing.
Somehow, yes. Obviously, they weren't iPhones that had been broken. The only guy, they did bring a guy on this who seemed like something of an expert. Here's the little commentary. You can play it. It's not that long. It was part of a long spiel. Mm-hmm. Cox says stall.
And Captain Cox, we've also learned the plane slowed down dramatically before the crash. What does that tell you, along with the images that you've seen of the wreckage, those horrible images?
Well, the information that the airplane sent down to the ground shows that the airplane descended and also slowed down quite a bit. It would be consistent with a stall, and that's certainly something that the investigators are going to look at very, very closely. And that is borne out to some degree by the pictures that are first coming out of the desert, is that the type of impact damage done to the aircraft is consistent with it being at a relatively low speed. So these are bits of circumstantial evidence that the investigators will use.
Thank you for your insights, Captain John Cox. We appreciate it.
Now, this is irksome.
Well, it might be, but earlier in the report, you can tell me why in a second, but earlier in the report, they did, because this was, again, these guys, they milk this stuff. They mentioned that the crew or somebody on the plane was, this is bullcrap too, probably, that they were bitching about the motors, having trouble with the engines, like weeks earlier.
Yeah, but I read things that this aircraft had a hard landing in the early 2000s. There's a million different things. But what this general, is he a general, a colonel? What was he?
That guy Cox?
I'm not sure because when we talk about a stall in aviation, that is not an engine stall like in your automobile. It is. Right. It means that you did not have enough forward airspeed to provide lift. And I think what he's saying is because the beginning part, whatever the emergency or the incident started, the debris field was not in incredible distance from that point, meaning that there was not a lot of forward airspeed. But, if you have a stall and, the only thing you have to do there is point the nose down, and if your aircraft is intact, it will fly. And you could, from 31,000 feet, you could probably float or glide for 20 minutes, I'd say, in an aircraft like that. I think the only thing that could have happened here is that the aircraft, it broke up at that altitude, and then whatever piece was still functioning for sending off the ADS-B data, that was showing, it was just floating down to Earth pretty much. But I think it was 5,500 feet per minute. So no, something happened. There was structural damage, and the thing broke apart before it came down.
It's an old jet. The Russians aren't known.
It's not. No. You can't say it's an old jet. It's an Airbus 321. It's not. It's a fine aircraft. Doesn't matter how old it is. Does not necessarily matter.
Yeah, I agree. But the Russians aren't the biggest at maintenance. And they have a horrible.
Yeah, but this thing, the structural airframe, if that broke up, then that's not just a maintenance issue. That's something else.
Well, you think there was a bomb in the plane?
Possibly. There is some talk of, they say catastrophic decompression.
Who said that? I haven't heard that.
Well, I'm an aviator, so I look around and I read different opinions. And that was, so there is a theory that because of a hard landing and the way that was fixed in a particular manner with
with Bondo?
With the rear, with caulk. The caulking gun. Bondo. Is that the stuff you put? What is the stuff you put on your exhaust? Gum? Remember that stuff?
No, that's something else. Bondo is the stuff you should. It's always a good gag.
Bondo.
Bondo is this crap that is like a goo, and you, if you have a dent in your car, instead of getting the dent fixed, you cover it with Bondo, and then and it turns into this hard rock, and then you sand it down so no one notices. Bondo.
Okay. No.
Running joke.
So when we have some flight data recorder data, if we ever get it, then I'll be able to say more.
I'm going to be annoyed if we get it within 30 days.
Yeah.
Then it's going to make it. Why did it take so long with the other one?
Well, we still haven't gotten that raw data.
That's right.
Now, have we?
Gotten it.
Yeah. Okay. We had.
Well, we do know one thing. It wasn't an ISIS missile.
No, that's no. But for all intents and purposes, except for the lack, I guess that's what we've seen so far, the lack of shrapnel. It was pretty much the same as MH17. We have no more additional data. There's no proof. There's no video. There's no radar data that has been released publicly or even used in the Dutch report about MH17. So we really know just as much about this aircraft, except we don't know if there's any shrapnel damage, which would be evident if there was a bomb, shrapnel going outward. If it was a book or something, it would be shrapnel going inward. So
it's always the book.
Yeah. Okay, so we do have a situation, as we discussed on the show on Thursday. Now it's out. We're putting boots on the ground. The president kind of can't hide it anymore. Everyone's kind of understanding that this is going against. Well, actually, let's play the president, who was very clear. I'm not the only one who's put this together. This is, I think, I even saw CNN do a compilation like this.
I do not foresee a scenario in which boots on the ground in Syria, American boots on the ground in Syria, would not only be good for America, but also would be good for Syria.
I will not put American boots on the ground in Syria. I will not pursue an open-ended action like Iraq or Afghanistan. With respect to the situation on the ground in Syria, we will not be placing U.S. ground troops to try to control the areas that are part of the conflict inside of Syria. The resolution we've submitted today does not call for the deployment of U.S. ground combat forces to Iraq or Syria.
Okay. I think the president was pretty clear.
He could have gone on for another half hour with those clips.
Easily. And I want to say one thing, that although the president used different terms here, the mainstream news media is pretty much only calling it boots on the ground. And I would respectfully request they cut that out. The boots are attached to ankles, which are attached to human beings, which are attached to kids who were sending. I don't care if they're all gung-ho and ready to go kick some ass. It's degrading. Don't you think, to say boots? How about U.S. personnel, like our soldiers?
Well, I never thought of it that way.
It's
but then
disgusting.
again, if you see a video clip and there's just a bunch of boots laying around,
well, then I'll give it. Okay, so now for 3 years, maybe even longer than that, we've always laughed about the advisors. It's advisors are in there, and which doesn't really.
Let's harken back to the Vietnam War.
Please do.
That's how that started.
Was it with advisors? That's what we literally called them,
and now
advisors?
he's having the same sort of people, the Rangers and the Special Forces.
So I thought one of the best, even though it's not quite as funny as some other clips I have, when we had Jim, whatever his name, from CNN grilling Josh Earnest. And remember, these spokeshole sessions, when the briefing sessions, they're scripted. Josh Earnest knows what questions he's going to get. They're all submitted beforehand. There may be some variations or some follow-up that he's not ready for, but this was pretty much scripted. So Jim does his job asking about what exactly is this and how is it different from no boots on the ground? What are advisors? How does it work?
Which is this president, this White House, the officials here at this White House repeatedly, over and over again, made it clear to the American people that there would be no combat role for U.S. troops fighting ISIS. That appears to be changing. Not only is there this announcement that you're talking about today, which you say they won't be involved in a combat role, but you're not ruling out the possibility that they may be involved in some sort of combat operation. But on the Iraq side, you have Pentagon officials this week saying we're in combat. So
you recall that we played these clips juxtaposing the no boots on the ground. These are advisors, advise and assist. And but then the Pentagon said
assist. That's the key word.
Oh yeah, that's coming up. And the Pentagon said no, this is not. Well, yeah, it's combat. What can I tell you?
It would be great if we could just have a moment of clarity here, and you could acknowledge that yes, this mission is changing. It is not what it was said it was going to be at the onset of this. I mean, I just think
to say that it's clear. To say that, Jim, would only confuse the situation.
I love that. So to tell the truth would only confuse people. We can't be telling the truth about what's happening here.
The fact of the matter is the mission that the Commander-in-Chief has given our military personnel in Iraq and now in Syria is a train, advise, and assist mission. And we have gone to great lengths to make clear that is in no way diminishes the amount of risk that our men and women in uniform will be facing.
What?
We've also been quite clear that
what part didn't you understand?
The way he
cavalier?
Bull crap. No, it was a double speak thing. He was like talking about one thing and shifting gears.
Let's listen again.
We'll be facing. We've also been quite clear that there actually have been situations where combat boots have been on the ground inside of Syria. We've been quite candid about that. The president ordered a mission.
Here's what he's saying is we were so clear.
Involving U.S. military personnel putting boots on the ground inside of Syria to try to rescue American hostages that have been taken by ISIL.
Yeah, which I think failed. Didn't it? Didn't we fail to extract the hostages?
Well, I remember. I know there's a lot of dead hostages, but I don't know. Yeah, I think it did. I think it's the one where they had the guy and they have his head cut off.
So here is the next part. This is all a big propagandistic move.
No, that wasn't the same clip I was concerned about. You didn't back up enough or something. He said the way he did it was, it was almost like it wasn't this, but it was just as bad as, I thought you knew. I thought you knew that's just what we're doing all along. You're an idiot.
Let me find the spot that you're talking about. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on.
I mean, I just think
to say that it's clear. To say that, Jim, would only confuse the situation. The fact of the matter is the mission that the Commander-in-Chief has given our military personnel in Iraq and now in Syria is a train, advise, and assist mission. And we have gone to great lengths to make clear that is in no way diminishes the amount of risk that our men and women in uniform will be facing. We've also been quite clear that there actually have been situations.
So what did
it no way diminishes the amount of risk.
Yeah.
That's a non sequitur. It's got nothing to do with the question or his initial commentary.
No, only with the spin. It's only the spin that he's trying to.
It's ridiculous.
Yes,
these guys are full of crap.
Well, it gets better.
The overall, for anyone who doesn't know it, the overall report, the intro to the report, which was done on the BBC. I got it from all the 3x3s, but the BBC I thought had a pretty good boots on the ground summary of what's going on for people that really don't know.
For the first time, U.S. troops will be deployed on the ground in Syria. Today, the White House announced that a small number of special operations forces will be sent to the north of the country to help local troops fighting Islamic State militants. Well, the decision came as the U.S. Secretary of State joined with his counterparts from Russia, Saudi Arabia, Iran, and other nations in Vienna to work on a diplomatic solution to end the fighting in Syria. The BBC's Nick Bryant reports.
American Special Forces in action in Iraq. Dramatic helmet cam footage.
Yeah, this was played, this dramatic helmet cam footage, which could be from anywhere, was used over and over
Showing
again.
how they rescued hostages during this recent raid on an Islamic State prison. But today, a major shift in U.S. policy. The announcement that for the first time since the Civil War began there 4.5 years ago, American boots will now be on the ground in Syria.
The president does expect.
Okay. Can I stop it there? Can I stop it there?
Yes,
okay.
fine.
Here, well,
I think maybe troops on the ground. I'm hearkening back to your earlier complaint.
Well,
troops on the ground, I think, would be better than boots on the ground.
I just find it insulting. It's just insulting.
I know what you're saying. I never thought of it, but you're right. I can see what your perspective is, and I think it probably is insulting. It's marginalizing that these are actual human beings.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, before you go on, I just want one more little piece of clarification, because they keep talking about the boots on the ground in Iraq, and we keep thinking that it's the same old that they've had all along.
Nope.
When it turns out that we've done kind of the same thing unannounced in Kurdistan. And this came up on CBS when one of their reporters, and let's see, I'm trying to look for the clip.
It's probably troops in northern Iraq, I'm guessing.
Yeah, that one. One of the reporters, one of the female reporters is floating around. She runs into this by accident, and nobody wants to talk about it. But they ran it as a story right in front of a Mike Morrell interview.
Now, that is Syria, but U.S. Special Operations Forces are already on the ground advising and assisting Kurdish fighters.
I'm going to stop you here. I don't want to come back to this because that's the next part of where I want to take this. So I'm going to come back to this clip in a minute. First, let's stay with what these boots are actually going to be. This is former Navy SEAL Chad Williams, who has written a book. He's on the speaker circuit. I can't see if he's tied into the mercenaries in the United States or what he calls the some community of badasses. But listen to him explain what assist means, and just listen to the veracity of him.
I think that it's a great call. You know, the head of our enemy, the snake, it's in Syria. And so we need to go over there and put a foot to that head. And I guarantee you none of our guys in the special operations community are walking around with their tail between their legs. They're very hungry to get over there. I'm sure they're saying, thank you, sir. May I have another? There's 1,000 other special operators that are just hoping that the chains will be cut and they could be sent over there to help advise and assist and put a heel to the head of that snake in Syria.
All right, so our special forces, they're mighty men. They're ready to roll over.
They're mighty men ready to roll, John. Mighty men ready to roll.
Over there. Let me ask you about the language, the notion of advise and assist.
Comic book character.
Oh, it gets better. It's like mighty men ready to roll. We're kicking ass, America. Unshackle the chains. We go in and kick the head off the snake.
Versus combat. To you, is there a difference?
It is a combat role, but it's not going to be American forces on the very front in the spotlight. We're going to be working a little bit more in the shadows.
In the shadows?
We're there in case these guys get into a situation where we need a little bit of backup. We're there to assist them. That's.
This is such a great way to say it. Hey, when those stupid ass guys get into trouble,
there's a need for a rescue mission. When the world is threatened,
baby, kick your ass.
The world needs help. It falls on America. And that's the story.
Where we need a little bit of backup, we're there to assist them. That's the assistance part of these advise and assist operations. But primarily, it's going to be led by these resistance fighters, and we're there just to support.
Resistance spiders? Hold on a second. Did he say resist? I didn't heard that before. Did he say resistance spiders?
Yeah, he said resistance fighters.
Oh, I thought he said spiders. Oh, fighters.
But primarily, it's going to be led by these resistance fighters, and we're there just to support them, advise them, and teach them how to take the fight to the enemy against a very fierce enemy. I mean, ISIS is evil. Let's not forget the beheadings, the burning of the Jordanian pilot.
Oh, sounds like propaganda. Here you go. Oh, the burning of the pilot, all the phony baloney videos.
So many others burying these children. So our mighty men of valor are going over there for a righteous cause.
Our mighty men of valor.
Wait, you get the whole sentence. Our mighty men of valor are going over there for a righteous cause.
Let's listen to it again. It's almost like a crusade, isn't it?
Very fierce enemy. I mean, ISIS is evil. Let's not forget the beheadings, the burning of the Jordanian pilot, and so many others burying these children.
What children were buried?
I don't know.
So our mighty men of valor are going over there for a righteous cause.
Our mighty men of valor are going there for a righteous cause. I have an Obama bot dinner Monday night.
Oh.
I'm going to try that one out. You know, our mighty men of valor are going over there for a righteous cause.
Okay.
Let's see how it works.
Yeah, you could. That's a good little line. It's a good line. It's memorable.
How mighty are the Kurds?
How mighty are the Kurds versus our mighty men of valor? Hello, what is going on here? This conversation is out of control. The mighty men of valor. Well, how about the mighty men of the Kurds over there?
How mighty are the Kurds who will
John, I think we should be the mighty men of media deconstruction. Our mighty men of valor of media deconstruction are on the path.
Be partnering with to defeat ISIS. What do you know about them? Because I've heard described different ways.
Well, I've worked with them before. These are the kinds of guys that will not back down. And so I'm glad that we have them. They're not the types that will abandon their post. And so I'm happy. These guys are hungry and thirsty. They're good sled dogs. They're there to give their master a good run.
Hold on a second. They're good sled dogs.
This guy's great.
Is he dynamite? They're good sled dogs, ready to give their master a good run. I guess that would mean our boots are the master? Is that what he's saying?
These guys are hungry and thirsty. They're good sled dogs. They're there to give their master a good run as well.
Who's the master? Is that who?
Their master.
The mighty men
are the masters.
I was talking to a Green Beret earlier in the week, and he said to me, Brooke, obviously we need to go in.
Yeah.
Who is this woman?
This is Brooke.
Why is she all in on this? Why doesn't she question some of these comments?
Because she's Brooke, she's hot looking, she's got beautiful curls in her hair, and let her be. I like her. Yeah, she's cute.
I do not like her.
Yeah.
Post, and so I'm happy. These guys.
Hey, listen. Do you like the show? Do you like how the show's how we're unpacking this? You got to love Brooke for that. And when she's talking mighty men of valor.
And so I'm happy. These guys are hungry and thirsty. They're good sled dogs. They're there to give their master a good run as well.
I was talking to a Green Beret earlier in the week, and he said...
I was hanging out with a Green Beret at the bar.
Said to me, Brooke, obviously we need to go in, boots on the ground, but we need to leave a light footprint.
A light footprint for the boots on the ground.
This is like the cliche city. This is CNN, right?
Yeah. Yeah, well, so that's why I watch CNN, because they when Barbara Starr comes on, she's taking her marching orders from the Pentagon, and she just reads whatever's necessary. But I love this. I think we'll see this.
They're going to have a little. Personally, since nobody watches CNN except you and maybe a few other people, I honestly, and I think that the Pentagon or somebody is directing this. I'm not totally convinced that at this point that this is going to go over with the American public. They're trying to gloss it over. After all this, we will never have boots on the ground, never have boots on the ground, never have boots on the ground. Now we got boots on the ground.
If you think,
and anyone who's old enough, I would put myself in that category, remembers that this is the way the Vietnam War started.
If you think for 1 minute that Brooke on CNN is going to mention any of this, you're wrong. Because this is the whole point of this clip. We paper that over with mighty men of valor going to kick some ass. We'll help them. Yeah, we'll get the sled dogs to mush and we'll kill them too. We rock. That people respond to that. We have big football games coming up.
Sled dogs.
We got big football games coming up this for Thanksgiving. What are we going to have? America. We're going to have flyovers, jets, national anthem, military marches. John, what do you mean? The American people are all in on this.
I'm not so sure.
Boots on the ground, but we need to leave a light footprint.
Yeah, we'll leave a light footprint. But I'd love to see. You'll hear this.
Are we going to wear dancing slippers?
The last thing the United States needs to do is get entangled, overcommitted into what he called already a quagmire. How do we pull that off?
Well, that's what the special operations community is all about. We're all about being strategic, surgical, and crippling the enemy, going after...
Strategic, surgical, crippling the enemy. This is more of those surgical strikes, like, I don't know, hospitals.
After particular high-value individuals and taking out strongholds. So that's definitely our area of expertise. This isn't going to be a large ground force. We're going to take them out in very particular ways.
Okay.
It was surgical.
Yeah, good point. All right, now I'm going to go back to your troops in northern Iraq, which I'm going to follow up with something else.
Now, that is Syria, but U.S. Special Operations Forces are already on the ground advising and assisting Kurdish fighters in northern Iraq, and that is where we find Elizabeth Palmer tonight. Liz?
Scott, we know they're here because we actually ran into a small group of them quite by accident in the headquarters of one of the Kurdish commanders.
Hey, where are you from? Kurd?
They wouldn't say
crazy.
anything, but the Kurds say they're already an important part of the fight against ISIS up here. Some of them actually live and work with the Kurdish fighters right on the front lines. Others help staff a joint command center here in the city of Erbil. The mission includes target spotting, helping to coordinate airstrikes, and also going on joint operations like the raid on the ISIS jail last week that killed Master Sergeant Joshua Wheeler. The Kurds say they're hoping for more joint raids like that and also further cooperation.
Okay. Now I'm going to flip over. So it's actually northeastern Syria, western Iraq. And I think I know exactly what is going on here, but it will be set up for us by former ambassador to Iraq, Christopher Hill.
Well, hold on. I want to interject a clip before you do that, because I think it might add to this, because you can counter what he has to say, because we know he's a tool.
Yeah. Mike Morrell. Mike
Morrell. And this is him right after they did that report on CBS. He came on with his, and the way they have to, he made his own title for the network, because it's just too dumb to be a real title. And he wouldn't use the word.
What is his title now?
You have to rehear it, because it's like it changes every time. He keeps playing with his title. He just should be a security correspondent, is what it should be. But he's got to be this and that, senior.
As an aside, I believe Mike Morrell's company. Remember, he started some company. He was going to
some consulting firm.
Yeah, he just got, I think, $35 million from Kleiner Perkins.
He did?
Yeah, we'll look at that.
Kleiner Perkins doing investing in this sort of thing? War.
So for insight into all...
That's what all Democrats do. Rich Democrats invest in war.
So for insight into all of this, we'll go to Michael Morrell, former number 2 at the CIA and our CBS News senior security contributor. Michael, how much difference does it make to have 50 U.S. Special Operations Forces on the ground in Syria?
Scott, it doesn't sound like much, but I think it's going to make a significant difference.
He sounds like a woman here.
He does sound like a woman. I think he's had a vasectomy.
Mm-hmm.
Syria.
Well, good. So we can't have any of his evil spawn making more Morells. This guy's no good.
Scott, it doesn't sound like much, but I think it's going to make a significant difference.
He sounds like Caitlyn Jenner.
Okay, I'm not touching that.
One is these special forces will be with Syrian Kurdish fighters who are right up against the heart of ISIS geographically. They're up against the center of mass of ISIS. And secondly...
The center of mass of ISIS. Nice.
The special forces will...
They should call it NISIS instead of ISIS. NISIS.
So I think, just as they have in Iraq, make these fighters better strategically and better tactically, help them make better decisions militarily.
Now, the Russians have troops on the ground at a military base in Syria. Does this increase the likelihood of a U.S.-Russia confrontation?
Scott, I don't think so. I'm not concerned about that. These Syrian forces, these Kurdish forces that we're going to be supporting are focused entirely on ISIS. They're not focused on fighting the Assad regime. So I think the chances of us butting up against the Russians here is unlikely.
Michael Morrell, former number 2 at the CIA. Michael, thank you.
And current number 1 douche. Thank you very much, Michael.
They always have to make sure he's at the beginning and the end. He's the former number 2. And this harkens back to The Prisoner, for people who remember that series, where I am not a number. Number 6.
I don't remember that.
And everyone had a number, so he's number 2. No. Number 1 is the one who runs the place.
Well, I'd like to have a conversation and unpack this for you. So here we get down to the nitty-gritty of what's really going on. It's a very old strategy with some interesting twists. As we listen now to former ambassador to Iraq, Christopher Hill.
And I think the president is being very clear that the United States will not be doing the fighting. That said, I think these U.S. individuals, if I can say, can be very helpful in terms of helping to shape the battlefield, and perhaps in a moment where we think it might be ripe to start pushing ISIS back again. So I don't think it's bad strategy. The problem is that I think the president's going to have to explain how he said he'll never do this, and now he's doing this. And as for what's going on the ground, I would encourage people to understand that what's going on in Syria is, on the one hand, a battle with ISIS, but it really hasn't been a Damascus versus ISIS. Damascus has its hands full with various other Sunni militia groups in the other parts of Syria. What this is a sort of battle out in the desert involving Kurds, involving some Sunni Arabs, to be sure, but especially involving ISIS. So far, this is not part and parcel of what we've come to understand as a Syrian sectarian civil war. And I think the big news in that regard, of course, is what has been going on in Vienna.
Okay, so what we have here
Hold on a second. I want to make one point. His overriding theme was exactly the same as Morell's.
Oh, of course. Of course.
Which is, these are two separate things?
Yes, but it is. These are two separate things. This is the old strategy which was put in place in recent history in 2006. If you look at the map, the idea has always been to break Iraq into three pieces, with the Shias controlling most from Baghdad. Then we have the Kurds up in the north, and then in the west we have the Sunnis. This has always been the plan. In fact, it is our vice president's plan when he was senator, Joe Biden.
I call for a strong central government, and the Iraqi constitution already calls for a federation, that there be a semi-autonomous region in the north with the Kurds, and that the Shia have a similar option. My call is to give the Sunnis the opportunity to buy into a federated Iraq by providing them the resources from oil revenues, a percentage of them, in order to be able to do what we did in Dayton in the Balkans.
Okay, so it's about the Balkanization, and the problem is Raqqa, R-A-Q-Q-A, I think. Raqqa is where this battle is taking place, and our assist and advise mission is working with the Kurds to drive back towards the west the Sunnis, which we'll just call ISIS, ISIL, IS, advertising, whatever you want to call them, to give the Kurds that extra bit of huge oil fields in Raqqa, which is all being sold through Turkey, being sold to Europe, it's being sold to China, and of course, when there's money like that, like $500 million a month or whatever, some crazy amount of money, that is what the plan is. The plan is to finally break up Iraq into these three pieces. We've got to push that over. Now, is that different from what's happening in Damascus? Absolutely. Or what's being discussed now in Vienna, which we'll talk about in a second. Let's just listen to the rest of this. Is Biden from 2006 again.
Remember, we set apart those three separate regions in order for them to have breathing room to come together. So what incentive, with a powerful South and a powerful North, who are basically independent from the central government, do the Shia have to sign on to this notion and give up the insurgency? This is a way to end the insurgency. And I might point out...
Did the Sunnis have, yes.
Excuse me, the Sunnis to...
Poor Joe, couldn't even figure it out back then.
To buy in. And I might point out, there is no plan that exists now for disbanding of the militias. So you have these massive militias in the Shia area and significant militias in the north. So what guarantee do the Sunnis have that it's in their interest to, in fact, sign on, even though they may get a couple ministers?
Okay. So the plan of running it from Baghdad is, would maybe, we replace the guy who was there. Maybe that'll work out. But this is purely, and also Israel in the past year has, past 18 months, has started acquiring their oil, 3/4 of its oil supplies from the Kurds. So there's a lot of things going on, a lot of agendas. But this northeastern, where we have our boots on the ground, is about, air quotes, boots on the ground, is about the oil fields. Now, why do we put these 50 guys in there? This is an easy one. Because they're going to be dispersed throughout all of these rebel fighters forces. And now we have real identifiable Americans. You know, if one of them winds up dead, it's going to be a big deal. This is a psychological move towards Russia, saying, you better not try and fire on any of these guys, you know, these what you call terrorists, what we call trained mercenaries trained by CIA and Department of Defense, because you might wind up killing one of them, and then we'll have a real shitstorm. That's what this is about, which some are calling using these boots as human shields. I wouldn't go that far. They better know what they're getting into. Then we have what's going on in Vienna.
Well, the rationale for that argument is sound, because it's only happened after the Russians decided to take action. Exactly. And there's been some analysis that indicates that the United States would like to get the Russians into what, as the NewsHour had a guy on, he kept referring it to as a swamp. Mm-hmm. He says, well, if we do things right, they'll be in a swamp they can't get out of. And that would be one of our goals. Yes.
So now we have the meeting in Vienna. This is very interesting because everyone who's in Vienna is everybody, including Iran now, because we still have Iran and Russia's mission to have the port of Tartus in Syria wide open and make this connection between the Iranian port. What's the port? Right there on the port Asaluye. That's the Pars terminal on the east coast of Iran. So that you can actually shuttle that through one big pipeline all the way into the Mediterranean up into Europe. This has always been the plan versus the Saudis and the Qataris who want to go from south to north. Or that's, I guess, going from Iran to Iraq is kind of, north to south, south to northwest. But it's about competing pipelines. So of course, Syria was not invited to these talks. And they finally said, well, you know what? Why don't we all agree that we're going to fight Daesh? which we haven't heard Daesh in a while. And we've now been trained that ISIS, ISIL, IS, Daesh, it's all the same thing. Well, it's not the same thing. That's why the names are different. And here's John Kerry using the Daesh meme, I think 5 times in a span of 40 seconds.
And by the way,
yes,
he used the Daesh meme 5 times or so, but his tongue went in and out during this.
He's a complete lizard. Yeah. Popping his tongue out, which CIA, when they're interrogating someone, if you poke your tongue out real quick while you're talking, that is a sure sign you're lying.
And President Obama has made a very straightforward and simple decision entirely in keeping with his originally stated policy that we must defeat and destroy Daesh. It is not a decision to enter into Syria's civil war. It is not an action or a choice focused on Assad. It is focused exclusively on Daesh and on augmenting our ability to be able to more rapidly attack Daesh and do a better job of eliminating Daesh and its influence in that region. So, I can't predict what the future will bring when our policy is to destroy Daesh, to fight back.
Now, our policy, to the word, has been to degrade and defeat ISIL. Am I wrong in remembering this?
I don't think, yes.
It's
that's
always
exactly
been
what Obama said.
To degrade and defeat ISIL. To degrade and defeat ISIL. And here, Kerry, a bold-faced lie, says to defeat Daesh. That has never been our mission.
Is to destroy Daesh, to fight back against this evil. But I do think the president has made a judgment that I completely advocated for and concur in. It is the right judgment to take on Daesh additionally and to bring other nations along in this fight. and every nation in the world will benefit.
Yeah. Let me give you what I think is the best definition of dash. Because when using the term dash, D-A-E-S-H is how we would write it here in the West, Islamic State supporters, which I think you can say ISIS, ISIL, IS, dislike the term dash because it specifically omits the Islamic component. British ambassador to Iraq, Simon Collis, says, Arabic speakers spit out the name Daesh with different mixtures of contempt, ridicule, and hostility. It's always negative because it implies there's no Islam element to those evil elements, which, sure, there are a bunch of a-holes who are just blowing stuff up. Let's call them Daesh because they want some kind of, something to happen. But they're not Islamists. They're almost by their name, not Islamic State, Islamic State in Iraq and the Levant or Iraq and Syria. So they're not lying, except that this was never who we were trying to degrade and defeat. And so that kind of gives us a reason to be there. It's okay, it's only for Daesh, or, for these guys, Daesh. But then Kerry has to secede because the Russians are saying, here's what we're going to do. We're going to agree with you. We'll fight these guys. But then we have to have a democratic vote to see if Assad should go or not. And you can imagine that Kerry first was like, nah, we're not going to do this now. I'm not very hopeful about this.
Democratic vote? Yeah. That makes no sense.
Well, but Kerry negotiated something into the deal, which I think, and even the way he says it, he even has a tell in his voice that guarantees we will be able to manipulate the democratic election into ousting Assad. And I guess they're all, for some reason, they're so hard up on doing this. I guess they have their puppet in line to jump in or whatever. They just see no way they can do it with Assad. But listen to the deal that was negotiated.
We agreed that Daesh and other terrorist groups, as designated by the UN Security Council and as agreed by the participants, must be defeated. We invited the UN to convene representatives of the government of Syria and the Syrian opposition for a political process leading to a credible, inclusive, non-sectarian governance followed by a new constitution and elections. We agreed that these elections must be administered under UN supervision to the satisfaction of the governed and to the highest international standards of transparency and accountability, free and fair, with all Syrians, including the diaspora, eligible to participate.
Oh, wait a minute. Would that be migrants? Who are the diaspora?
Everybody.
Which means
be a couple Syrians living in Brooklyn.
Which means we can go to a million migrants and say, got a great idea. You want to stay here? Why don't you vote Assad out? This is the Kerry. It's a big coup. I think he did a good job on that. He got us to the agreement includes diaspora, which could be anybody.
I'm sure it was sold as Kerry would sell it. It's not that he's a complete boob. He would sell it as, look, these are the people that were here. We know they're Syrians. Yeah. They have a lot of them have passports or papers of some sort, and we know where they are. They're in that long line going to Germany. There's no reason that they shouldn't be part of the voting bloc.
Yeah, exactly. And they will be. But how will they be influenced?
Oh, well, it's the same way anyone's influenced. This is the future of internet voting.
So, yes. In fact, wouldn't it be great if they even did that vote through the internet?
That'd be
what a coup that would be. Yeah. Look how well it worked for Syria. We should do that in America.
Yep.
So this is
that was good.
It's another little step forward in what's happening. I like it. And of course, the man in the middle. What's really important to keep our eye on is Turkey, which I think we should discuss after I thank you for your courage and say in the morning to you, John C. Dvorak.
Well, in the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry. Also, in the morning to all feet in the air, subs in the water, dames and knights out there, and boots on the ground, and everybody else I missed.
Yeah. How about what we're going to say instead of boots?
Subs on the water.
In the morning,
troops on the ground.
In the morning, everybody in the chat room, noagendastream.com. Thank you for showing up, being very helpful with what you're doing there in the chat room. In the morning to Nick the Rat. Nick, good to see him back. He brought us the artwork for episode 769er, which was our 8th anniversary show. And we appreciate his work. And
very little art for that show.
It was surprising. Strange. Yeah, I expected to get some jingles. We didn't get any jingles for the 8th.
Yeah, well, maybe the 9th would be better.
NoAgendaArtGenerator.com.
That's next year.
Yeah, next year. Huh.
Well, anyway, we did have some help for this show. Came in late. We almost got one of those executive producers at the $250 level, but instead, Sir Sean Connolly came in with a donation of $333. And here's the okay. So I had to. I thought I'd push this aside, but I didn't have to look him up again. But Sean Connolly, I couldn't find a note from him separate. But then I went to look at the PayPal thing for his real email address, which is a little different. There was the note. It was actually in there. It should have gone onto the spreadsheet.
Well, you should talk to the back office.
No, it's not. I don't think it was the back office's fault.
It just didn't go onto the spreadsheet?
I think. Well, let me open it.
Must have been a weird character that he started with.
That's what I'm thinking, because he used a bunch of plus signs.
This is the problem with PayPal. They have Unicode issues, I think.
Yes, well, this seemed like one of them. Whoa, this is interesting. Hold on.
We are watching Dvorak looking at something interesting in the wild. Shh, be quiet. We don't want to disturb him in his natural habitat.
Okay, I just opened the thing, and now the message is gone.
Aha.
But I know it's here, and I'm just going to have to look him up by his emails.
The Dvorak is stunned as he's foraging for food and cannot find what he expected in his cache.
This is funny.
This is funny.
Okay, let me try this.
The Dvorak is going to try a new tactic.
Okay, here it is.
I'm Sir Richard Attenborough. Looking at the Dvorak. Scourging.
Okay, here's the word. This is I don't know. But here's his message. I found it.
He's found what he's looking for.
This is an old message from a different one. Okay, so we don't have. Well, I'm going to read this. I don't remember this.
Just thank him.
But he says, Angus and Johan, thanks for the best podcast in the universe. And here's what he wanted. He wants a Too Delicious, Don't Eat Me, Shut Up Already. And he wants it for his ringtone.
He wants Don't Eat Me, and what? Shut Up Already, Dr. Kiki?
No. He wants a Too Delicious, Don't Eat Me, Shut Up Already.
Okay, hold on a second.
Everyone quiet.
Shut up already. And a Too Delicious. See, now the curry is scourging for clips in his archive. Okay. Here we go. And I'll roll out a karma at the end of that for him as well.
It's almost too delicious to believe, my friend.
Me, Hillary Clinton. Shut up already. Science.
You've got karma.
Well, anyway, that was from a previous donation that we didn't read. So
good. Well, thank you very much, Sir Sean. Thank you very much.
For your associate executive producers, we have 3, starting with John Henry in Fajardo, Puerto Rico. $250. He sends a note in. This came in as a check. Been way too long since my last donation. Here's $250. With previous donations, this should put me about halfway to knighthood.
All right.
The best earworm you have ever had was the one from I get it. Earworm, get it?
Yeah, it's called an earworm.
Les Mis, Dvorak.org/NA. Donate enough to become a knight one day. Been a long time since I've heard it, but it's still in my heart. Okay. Could I get you to play that for me? Could I also get some karma, advertising, sponsorship, whatever you want to call it, for my packaging machinery handbook? I sent John a copy a year or 2 back, and we'll be happy to send one to Adam if you'd like.
It's okay. I'll borrow John's copy.
Send one to Adam.
Dvorak.org/NA. Donate enough to be a knight someday.
You've got karma.
It's a good one. I like that.
Yeah, we haven't heard that for quite a while.
Bringing it back. Nice. Actually, I'll put that
Lynn
in.
Sutton in Stepaside, Dublin, Ireland. Step aside.
Step aside.
Step aside. 23456. I'd like this to go toward my husband Baz Sutton's knighthood.
Mm-hmm.
I know maybe she wants the credit here, and then Baz will get the knighthood. Let's do it that way. Wanted to donate for two reasons. First being hearing about the cop who would not be prosecuted for shooting a kid because he feared for his life, even though the kid was driving away from a crime scene he had nothing to do with.
Mm-hmm.
Other than listening to your show, you would not hear this sort of deconstruction of the story anyplace else. The second reason for donating is upon hearing the news report about how a Russian passenger plane was shot down by ISIL, which is the report I heard, I immediately thought that I can't wait to find out what actually happened. When I listen to No Agenda, I know I will. So thank you for your courage. Please give my husband some job karma for a new job he's going for, and general karma for all three, and I love bugs. And any other clip you feel appropriate.
Okay.
Step Aside's a real place. Photo evidence will follow on email.
Okay. You want bugs and you want job. I thought it said hand job karma. Am I wrong?
I think he'd be requesting that, not her.
Oh, all right. Here we go. And something we want. Okay. That's,
just throw something.
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh my gosh. Can you see that juice?
When I see bugs, I want to stomp on them. I want to swat them. I want to raid them.
Bomb them, and bomb them again.
I love bugs.
Jobs, and
Tastes like
jobs.
poop.
Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
Okay. All right.
Well, she got her money's worth.
She got her money's worth for sure.
All right. Andrew Brewer. And hello, cursor. Where did you go? I have to hit the control button and maybe I can find it.
Andrew Brewer says, in the morning, Adam and John, listener since episode 1 and slowly chipping away towards knighthood. Not so easy with 4 kids and 1 income. I hear you, brother. Listening to the best podcast in the universe is gift enough. But if I may, I'd like to ask for some much needed getting laid karma. Throwing in a little girl, yay, and don't eat me Hillary Clinton would certainly be a bonus. You can finish that up while I look for those?
Yeah. Happy. Okay. Throwing in some little girl, yay, okay. You'd certainly be a bonus. From Gitmo Nation Camel City, home of the Camel Unfiltered Smokes, Krispy Kreme Donuts, Texas Pete Hot Sauce, and Sunshine Energy Drink. All things to keep the slaves happy. Big thanks, and keep hitting them in the mouth.
All right.
Yay! Eat me, Hillary Clinton.
You've got karma.
Kyle Romagus in Splendora, Texas, if there is indeed such a place, came in with $200. He writes, ignoring them to keep their job, or we're told to shut up, slave. Is that the way it starts, with ignoring them? Okay. Also, the lack of response from the fire department community about the load of crap NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology, is trying to sell us is mind-blowing. A competent person would assume that someone would want to know all the details of how someone murdered over 3,000 people.
You know, where are you reading this? I have, my name is Kyle Romagus.
It's right here on my thing. It's in red.
I'm a 31-year-old firefighter EMT instructor in the Houston area. I'm tired of being a freeloading douchebag. My wife and I have both made our first $100 contribution towards knighthood. Please hear her note below. I've been listening to the best podcast in the universe regularly since show 662. And like you've said time and time again, the art is what drew me in. Aha, that was the art of the skull in the shape of Africa. I started paying more attention to alternative media about 5 years ago. The aha moment was during a building construction class I was taking at an A&M fire school when I began to see holes and anomalies in the official 9/11 Commission report. At that time, I realized that if I could see the anomalies in the stories, then all of the spokeshole in the news media could as well. And they were either ignoring them to keep their job or told to shut up, slave. It's worse than that.
That's where I started.
Yeah, okay. There you go.
He's got a lot of stuff here. So he does have a couple of douchebag call-outs we want to mention.
Okay, let's do those.
And thankfully, it found you guys. It was like a breath of fresh air. Finally, me and my wife could listen together instead of me having to tune in and her attempting to tune out the madness. One day, I would like to hear a whole show devoted to 9/11. We've already done too much 9/11 stuff. And all of the BS involved with the cover-up. Lastly, I would like to call out my mother-in-law, Carolyn, as a douchebag. I hit her in the mouth a couple of months ago, and she still has not donated. Thank you for your courage.
And then, do you have the note from his wife? Who?
No. Maybe, but I don't.
Well, she also was very happy, and she said that her $100, her half, is for on the way to knighthood, and they both need a de-douching.
You've been de-douched.
A damehood, actually, is what she would be getting.
You've got karma.
There we go.
Please keep these things a little shorter than the War and Peace novel.
Yeah. That's it.
All right. I think that's it. That's all we got for today's. I knew it was going to be a little light, and it was. But to remind people, to do a show on Thursday, Dvorak.org/NA, and we will get right back on the track for Kyle and his wife.
And thank you to our executive producer and associate executive producers. This is a cool club you're in. These credits are real. You can use them anywhere where credits are accepted and recognized. Putting them on your LinkedIn profile seems to help quite a bit. And remember us for the show on Thursday.
Dvorak.org/NA.
And of course, every single one of you, including these execs, need to be out there propagating the formula.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Hey, citizen.
Shut up, slave.
Shut up, slave.
Okay. Show. Maybe.
Well, I've got a little entremont.
An entremont, which is that little thing the chef has prepared for us as an extra. It's a freebie, and it's in between.
I have a new segment for the show. Mike could use a jingle, could use something.
Okay.
This is going to be the ISO of the Day Showdown, judged by Adam.
ISO of the Day Showdown. Now, understand when we say ISO, this is a television term for isolation. And often when an interview is conducted, we'll have one camera that is recorded separately on the interview subject. So we can then isolate that later and not have it switching back and forth or other shots. These are audio ISOs taken out of something and something.
My audio ISOs are little phrases and things that are competitive to become evergreens.
Okay.
And you get to pick one. Or you can take all
ISO of the day.
Let's go with number one. ISO of the day, So.
So?
That's the name of it. ISO of the day, So. I'll set it up then.
I don't have So.
It's right on the top.
Nope.
You have any ISO of the day?
Yes, I have ISO of... Oh, yes, I do have ISO of the day, So.
Well, that's okay.
You know why? Because the title in the ID3 tag says something different. Okay, I got you.
Now, this is our buddy, Tyson, whatever his name is, somebody.
Neil deGrasse?
Neil deGrasse just kind of stumbling along.
Okay.
Elon.
Sorry.
It's a Google self-driving car.
No.
This is the one.
Yeah, you're not playing the right one.
This is the one.
This is ISO of the day, Google self-driving car that you played.
Oh, jeez. I ruined it. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. You can play that one instead. Play that one because that's one of the three. It's not in any order.
I just played that one. I'll play it again.
Play it again.
It's a Google self-driving car.
Okay, where was that from?
That was from a clip that's actually I have here. It was a special on KQED local station on Silicon Valley. Lament about people that can't afford to live there anymore. It's a little documentary was made. I wish I had ISO'd the last comment that was made in this documentary where some douchebag comes out and says, people can't afford to live here. They shouldn't live here. But play that Silicon Valley Lament, which is, you can see where it was pulled from.
Okay, Silicon Valley Lament.
Silicon Valley, California, home to Google, Facebook, Apple, and just about every other tech company you can think of.
It's a Google self-driving car.
God.
But lately, it seems like the bigger those tech companies get, the less room there is for middle-class families like us.
She forgot to mention douchebags.
Yes, douchebags.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, anyway, I heard the little girl, so I said that's a possibility. Because again, this is a 3-year-old. Why would she be saying, "Oh, look, it's the Google self-driving car"?
Oh, I know why. Because that is the last word she will speak when the Google self-driving car decides to kill the kid instead of killing the occupant of the car.
Yeah.
Oh, look, it's a Google self-driving.
Okay. Now you can play the ISO of the day, the one this is Neil deGrasse Tyson trying to say something.
So it's that so Elon.
Okay, that's pretty good. That's a good contender. And now number 2
is the this from the same show. This is our buddy Sharpton.
Star Wars. Everyone's going nuts about it.
Okay. To review, we have
so it's that
Neil deGrasse Tyson or
Star Wars. Everyone's going nuts about it.
It's a close call.
What about the little girl?
As the third one?
Yeah. Star Wars.
Oops, the third one. Come here.
It's a Google self-driving car.
I think there's a combo to be made. I think the ISO of the day should be
so it's that so
it's a Google self-driving car.
I think those two together make it work. But
That's not bad.
I'll choose Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Okay.
I think he's better because it would be funnier if Sharpton said something dumb. Like Starfleet or something, if he had just messed it up.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Okay, so I'm going to put ISO of the day into a place where we will keep the ISOs. I like it. We need a jingle, and I need to not mess it up.
Yeah, that would be useful.
Sorry. This is an unrehearsed show.
I'll keep the titles more simple.
I'll explain after the show what happened.
That's not important.
Title thing. Lip smack. Sorry, didn't mean to do that.
I missed it again. I only hear it when after it's been recorded. I can spot them.
Yeah, it's not good. Okay, so why don't we flow into migrants? Let's stick with Turkey because Turkey is they're in the middle of an election right now.
I have 4 clips from Turkey.
Okay.
I have one from the Turkey crackdown clip, which is from last show we didn't play.
Okay.
And you might as well start with that.
Okay.
Well, I think that there will be possibly some concern from Washington, but I think that there has been a lot of concern about feeling that the European Union isn't doing enough. There has been this condemnation or words of concern coming from the EU Commission, but this is much weaker words compared to the Council of Europe. Niels Muzinek, the Commissioner for Human Rights, saying that this is a sign of Turkey going on a worrying path over human rights. But there is this belief in Brussels that Brussels is trying to make a deal with Turkey over stemming the migrants entering Europe, and they are soft pedaling on human rights. And only earlier this week, the head of the EU Commission, Jean-Claude Juncker, said this isn't the time to harp on, using his words, about human rights and controls over the media when we're trying to make a deal over refugees.
So, Dorian, then, given all of that, what is the mood there in Turkey? Are other media organizations concerned that they might be next?
Well, there are a few remaining independent mainstream media are extremely concerned. They're furious. They say this is an attack on media freedom, but they're also very frightened for themselves because earlier this week, a senior member of the AKP party, a member of parliament, said after the election there will be a reckoning with those media that have been putting disinformation about our parties.
And I will say, as of this moment, which is 12:33 Central Daylight Time in Austin, Texas.
Standard now.
Oh, we're standard. I'm sorry, we fell back. It appears that Erdogan's party has a majority and that they will now completely control the destiny of Europe and the Middle East. They are in the catbird seat, so to speak.
Right, and they have already started cracking down on the media. That report there was from the shutdown of one of the newspapers.
And it was one of the television stations, which was run by Gulenists. But it was run by Gulenists. Run by the Fethullah Gulen clan.
Yes, but not everybody being censored in Turkey is a Gulenist. Let's play the clip, Turkey Censors and the EU.
When it comes to the refugee crisis, all eyes are suddenly on Turkey. Now, the country is seen as crucial in helping to stem the flow of migrants to Europe, and so the EU is now trying to persuade Turkey to police its borders better and to improve conditions for millions of refugees already there. Now, the hope is that all this stops more migrants making their way to Europe. In return, Brussels is offering sweeteners such as financial aid and starting up again the stalled negotiation process to get Turkey into the EU. A win-win situation, you might think. Well, not quite. The deal is controversial. European politicians who are desperate to resolve the refugee crisis are accused of turning a blind eye to human rights abuses in Turkey, in particular, an alleged government clampdown on dissent.
Levent Üzümcü's ensemble are performing an historical comedy tonight. It's about an Ottoman sultan who tries to censor a theater group's performances. Similarities to present-day Turkey are intentional. The audience knows that the actors are walking a thin line. For the city authorities in Istanbul, Levent Üzümcü is a public enemy. In late August, he lost the job that he'd held for 25 years because he made a public speech and wrote on the internet criticizing the AKP government. He's pessimistic about freedom of expression in his cultural sector.
The people in charge of Istanbul's state-sponsored theater are slaves to authority. They decide on the repertoire even though they know nothing about theater. I've always expressed my opinion freely. I'm a well-known actor. Everyone knows I won't keep my mouth shut.
Who is the guy?
I love that, by the way.
Who is the guy doing that voiceover? What a great voice!
Yeah, no kidding. Hey, I love this. This guy says this is a famous actor. I guess has been kind of marginalized in Turkey for being a complainer. But he says, I'm not going to keep my mouth shut. Well, he will after this election. And so I got two other short clips.
Before you go there, let me read to you, as I have uncovered and will be publishing with markups, the EU-Turkey Joint Action Plan, which is the agreement that the EU has penned with Turkey. Any interest?
Yeah, let's hear what you have to say.
4-page document, everything marked up. Introduction. The international community faces an unprecedented crisis which requires...
This is nothing more than extortion.
It is exactly extortion, and the EU is all in. I think this is underreported. The international community faces...
the whole Turkey thing's underreported.
Faces an unprecedented crisis which requires solidarity, togetherness, and efficiency. Love, tenderness, and devotion.
It doesn't say togetherness.
It's fucking A. Excuse me. Yes, it does. It says...
What was that?
Because it's... Sorry.
Hey, man.
Tourette's, man. The international community faces an unprecedented crisis which requires solidarity, togetherness, and efficiency. I'm not kidding. That's why I said love, tenderness, and devotion. Let's see. Challenges are common and responses need to be coordinated. Negotiating candidate country Turkey...
The guy is an Islamist.
Yes. Negotiating candidate country Turkey and the European Union are determined to confront and surmount the existing challenges in a concerted manner. Okay, we move down. Part 1, supporting the Syrians under temporary protection and their Turkish hosting communities. Turkey is making commendable efforts to provide massive humanitarian aid and support to an unprecedented and continuously increasing influx of people seeking refuge from Syria, which has exceeded 2.2 million people to date. Turkey has already spent more than $7 billion of its own resources on addressing this crisis. So what do you think is coming up next? Oh, yes. The EU side intends to, point 1, mobilize in a sustained manner appropriate to the emerging needs substantial and concrete new funds outside the funds already allocated or foreseen for Turkey to support Turkey. That's funny. For Turkey to support Turkey, that's crazy, in coping with the challenge represented by the presence of Syrians under temporary protection. The funds will be mobilized in the most flexible and rapid way possible, notably through the EU Trust Fund for the Syrian crisis. Hello, members of the European Union. You are paying. You're paying twice. You're paying for Turkey to not keep these people and shuttle them off to your country where you're paying for them again. In addition to the funds that would be mobilized under paragraph 1, continue, by way of close cooperation with Turkish authorities, to provide immediate and principled humanitarian assistance via relevant humanitarian organizations. Here we go. To ensure an efficient use of the funding, set forth under paragraphs 1 and 2, the EU institutions and Turkey will proceed with a comprehensive joint needs assessment as a basis for programming. So what that means is they're not going to give them a big check, but they will sit there and write checks piecemeal. And continuing providing assistance, we will, over and beyond the 4.2 billion euros already mobilized by the EU. I didn't know that, except for that one report that we heard. To Syrian refugees hosted in Lebanon, Jordan, and Iraq, as well as the Syrians displaced within Syria, with the aim to contribute inter alia to the weakening of push factors, forcing them to move towards Turkey. Yes, this is extortion, and the extortion is going to amount at least 7 billion euros, and only Allah knows how much further beyond that will go. This is an outrage. Turkey is leaking people into Europe, saying, we'll stop maybe if you give us a couple $1 billion or euros. This is insane.
Yeah, it's great. Of course, then they expect to get into the EU too, but I don't think this is going to happen. It better not. Now, here's a couple of this was from the Deutsche Welle. This is a German report, and so you can go anywhere in the world and get any quote you want if you ask enough people. But I believe that these two quotes that are in this particular clip are the kind of the mindset of a lot of Middle Easterners and the mindset of a lot of Turks and the mindset of a lot of people who really aren't into democracies culturally. They're just not. They like the strong government and they think it's fantastic, and they which is, would be Muammar Gaddafi, who's dead, and the Egyptian guy who was in jail, and all the rest of these people that we turn over the apple cart on. And this is what I think the man on the street probably does think in Turkey.
The government's zero-tolerance policy toward its critics and the recent terror attacks have deepened the rift between President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's opponents and his supporters. They refuse to listen to criticism of their leader.
Whatever the AKP does, it's right. It needs to regain its absolute majority. Everyone makes mistakes, including the government. The government's critics should take a look in the mirror and ask themselves if they're always right. A government should be treated with respect.
This guy should read Peter and the Wolf. And there's the flute.
We'll track him down.
We head to the city of Edirne on the Bulgarian border, a traditional secular stronghold. Student Kadir Yavash and his friends are getting ready for another anti-government protest, even though he's still haunted by what happened at the Rally for Peace and Democracy in Ankara on October the 10th.
Yeah, that's where the government decided to blow up the thing.
Right.
No, this is all bad.
Well, I have some news from Germany. Opinions are changing rapidly, as we discussed on Thursday. Now Germans have I think a substantiated fear about, jobs.
Please stand and watch as another 2,000 migrants cross into Germany from Austria. The latest arrivals will be distributed across Germany, along with up to 1 million others who are expected to have arrived by the end of the year. The influx is having big repercussions, even on the morale of consumers. Research group GfK says the crisis is making Germans nervous about their jobs. The index has now fallen for a third month and is at its lowest level since February.
So people are worried about their jobs. If you look, there's a lot of videos that Germans are shooting, and you can hear them talking about how effed up this is and how they're worried. And the pictures are phenomenal to see these hordes of people streaming across Europe.
It's an invasion.
Quoted here from, what is this? I'll find the quote. 5 million march on Europe. We cannot guarantee public safety anymore. The European Commission had a meeting and they came up with a 17-point action plan, but only for the Western Balkans migration route, which pretty much is nothing other than, hey, we'll discourage them. Hey, we won't dump people off of your border unless we tell you first. We'll try to make it humane, but really nothing about. Greece has to. Greece, poor Greece. Hey, take another 30,000 migrants, Greece. That's the only. Seriously, Greece gets specifically called out. Take more, Greece. And then we have Angela Merkel in trouble today.
Police said on Saturday that nearly 10,000 refugees continue to arrive in Germany daily. The report comes ahead of a crunch meeting between Angela Merkel and a Bavarian ally on the crisis. Chancellor Merkel will discuss refugee policy on Saturday evening with Bavarian Premier Horst Seehofer, head of the Christian Social Union. Seehofer has criticized Merkel's asylum policy and handling of the crisis. The CSU is sister party to Merkel's Christian Democratic Union and has been outspoken about her open doors policy towards refugees. CSU's home state of Bavaria is the entry point for virtually all of the migrants arriving in Germany.
So here's the way I understand the problem. The Merkel's party, the CDU, the Christian Democrats, and the Christian Socialists. So she's Christian CDU, and she is in a coalition with the CSU. Without CSU, if they were to leave the coalition with a vote of no confidence, she would no longer have a majority, and she could pretty much be kicked out as chancellor, with new elections immediately being called for. So she has a problem if she cannot keep the CSU in the coalition.
Let's back up, because I didn't think about this at the time. We talked about, discussed it in detail, but let's back up and ask ourselves, why in the world did she do this in the first place?
Well,
what was her thinking?
I can tell you what our producer in Syria thinks. And
yes.
This is sub 7-0. He's moved away from Damascus. He's now in Latakia, which is really the west coast of Syria. Here we go. Because I asked specifically, how about the people who are migrating from Syria? He says, in short, people are happy about it. The government is not. It is often referred to as a conspiracy to depopulate Syria or a plan to steal the best Syrian minds. So that is what the thinking is there. Maybe, initially Germany was saying, we'll take the Syrians, we'll take all the smart people, and you can have all the losers. But that, of course, backfired when there was no way to track who was smart and or from Syria.
And they weren't going to be giving them IQ tests at the border.
No.
Can you see how many fingers I have? What if it was made into a cube?
So,
what was she thinking? Did she think this was going to go swimmingly?
I don't know. But she sat down with Erdogan, with the Turkish leadership, and had a conversation about it. She'll do whatever she can to protect her relationship with Russia. I think it's just a dumb oversight, because the CSU controls the influx of these refugees, migrants, advertisers, whatever you want to call them, through Bavaria. So maybe she's just dumb. Maybe she just messed up on this one.
Well, she doesn't look like a bright bulb. And I don't want to just criticize her for her appearance, but maybe she is just dumb. No one's ever considered that as a possibility.
Well, what's interesting is I found a new organization, which I didn't know the existence of, within the European Union. Surprise, surprise. It's called Frontex. Frontex. Frontex.
That sounds like an American name.
Well, Frontex is the origin. Fostering the free movement of people has been an important objective of the European integration since the 1950s. Free movement of goods, persons, services, and capital were identified as foundations of the community of the Treaty of Rome. That's how we got the Schengen. But all of the countries that are border countries to the European Union, collectively, they have a group called Frontex. And this is, so we have these centers. This is amazing how much money is blown on bull crap there. We have a Frontex center in Helsinki, Finland. We have the Center for Land Borders in Berlin, for Air Borders in Rome, for Western Sea Borders in Madrid, Training Center for Training. That's pretty interesting. Ad Hoc Training Center for Training. What are you going to train in? Training. That's in Austria.
Train how to train.
Center of Excellence in Dover, Eastern Sea Border Center in Greece. So we have a whole new group to look at who are having their own meetings, who could come up with maybe with their own agreement outside of the EU framework. We are witnessing some big ass history.
This is major, and I think the Americans have some. This is the EU. This is definitely doing it.
Yeah.
And I think the EU is maybe Merkel is a dummy, and I think maybe most of these guys are dummies. You'd think so, and you listen to Farage talk to all of them. They're all going, they're all like, looking stupid.
There you go.
So I think that the EU may be getting a clue, and I think it may be an F the U.S., and I can't find a clip for this because it's kind of under the radar, but it's been played on most of the obscure news shows. Mm-hmm. They've decided to do it's like an agreement. It's not a treaty, but it's an agreement that they will not deport Ed Snowden.
Huh. You think that's tied in, really?
Yes, look it up. The Parliament said they came up with...
Oh, yes, I did see this. Yeah, the EU Parliament.
Yeah, the EU Parliament came up with a resolution saying that if Ed Snowden is within the borders of the EU, they will not deport him. Mm. It's not by law, but they just made an agreement that they will not deport him. Mm. And that, to me, because at least the way I see everything, of course, is it all began with Ed Snowden being given asylum in Russia.
Well, that goes for
and then all this stuff starts to happen. Mm-hmm. That is the EU saying, "Oh, you make that happen to us." I mean, it's almost like asking for it.
Right.
So this is, again, I think we were witnessing the beginnings. We're witnessing World War
III. This is World War III. Don't look for interballistic cruise missiles. No, look for 5 million little nuggets of problem rolling into the and it's so bad. And what you get, I mean, if you look at the videos, and I have a lot of raw video, I actually put some of that in the show notes, 770.noagendanotes.com. Now, you'll see that the borders are being broken down at Austria. People are jumping. There's no stopping them.
It's like, it's an invasion.
Yeah,
it's an invasion with no resistance.
And now you have populations.
There is some resistance, but it's the resistance of the Maginot Line. You just walk around it.
And then you have, and then you have, citizens of these countries, Germans, you have it happening in the Netherlands, you can have it happening everywhere, walking around saying, hey, screw this. We don't want this. Hey, nice to know you, get the F out. We don't want you here. And then, of course, then you get strife within because I read the Dutch, media. Then you have strife within countries where you have the social justice warriors going, well, we have to have a conversation. We have to save them. These are people. And those people who hate the migrants, they're evil, right-wing crazies. They probably believe in God. So just all this. So now you get people fighting internally. Goodbye, Europe. I sent a note to Christina. I said, when I say grab your bag and get on the plane, you don't ask me a question. You get on the plane.
Well, that day's coming.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're still streaming in. It's not like as we speak, it's kind of stopped and now we have to deal with it.
No.
That line of streaming immigrants, refugees, out of Turkey just keeps coming. There's another report of an overturned ship. They're leaving a lot of them on boats any way they can get out of there. And there's another report of a bunch of dead, drowned poor folks from, wherever they're from. What
I find so interesting is, we have 11 million, 12 million, God knows how many million undocumented workers. Don't say illegal aliens. And we're looked at as a-holes in America for wanting to do something about that and wanting to, build a wall or whatever it is, or fix our broken immigration system. Have a conversation in this country.
Going to separate families. We know all the memes.
Yeah. Well, that is what immigration law is supposed to support. Fact. But come on.
Well, the immigration laws are adequate. They're just not enforced.
Yeah,
this is going to be, and this is just what we have has been assimilated. It's old. It's not like 11 million just is marching in a stream out of the blue all at once.
I agree.
And that's like a big difference. And the Europeans have to deal with this ridiculous stream. And people, and again, I'll bring it up. I hate to do it, but they're pooping.
They're pooping, they're puking.
They're throwing up. They're puking. They're sick. Some of them, they're crapping everywhere.
And they have
litter.
And
I can't imagine the litter.
John, and there's diseases now that have not been in Europe, in the EU for years, decades.
Yeah,
polio,
so it's going to overload the hospital
syphilis.
System. The medical system is going to be completely inundated.
Yeah,
with the socialistic medicine,
which is all free, and they can't refuse anybody. Now, do you think that this is all our doing? I mean, I have to believe that the United States Atlanticist a-holes, the jack-offs like Kerry, they're in bed with the Turks. It's got to be.
Well, I can't say that the way this has turned out is exactly our doing, because I don't think we're good.
No, we're not that good. We're not that good. Okay,
that is way too good.
But we need to.
Holy crap!
But someone needs to put the clamp on Turkey. They're receiving all the oil. They're blackmailing the EU with, we're going to send these people in, which they're doing. They have the deals with the Russians for the gas. Are you kidding me? And then we have Erdogan, who clearly wants to overturn the secular status of Turkey.
Right, he wants to make it an Islamic
caliphate, the Ottoman Empire.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and he wins no matter what, whether the 3-state solution in Iraq, which means that even though they hate the Kurds, they're taking all the oil. Well, we'll take it. Don't worry, we'll take it, and we'll sell it to the Chinese. We'll sell it to the European Union. We'll sell it to Israel. So they're full of crap. Finally, I will say that if you want to know why maybe we don't have our Congress doing anything. We talked about it just the other day. I saw our buddy Mark Hall's documentary, Killing Ed, and USA Today. I don't know if you saw this. USA Today finally, although they didn't take it all the way through to the charter schools, headline, Turkish faith movement secretly funded 200 trips for lawmakers and staff.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Funny.
The group. So you've heard of Fethullah Gulen for years on the show. Now it shows up in USA Today, accusing the Gulenist movement.
You mentioned this before because you mentioned Shirley, what's her name, and Texas woman.
It's not. It's
Shirley.
Shirley Jackson Jones.
Shirley Jackson Jones.
What is her name? I don't like that woman. Shirley Jackson Jones. Here it is. So the 200 trips. This was investigated. Of course, no one will get here. Congressional disclosures show. I'll
bet you that woman.
Jackson Lee is her name.
Jackson Lee. I'll bet you she has. I would bet Sheila Jackson Lee. I'll bet you the 50 cents I lost. Double up.
I wasn't gonna bring it up, but okay. Yes.
I double up that her house is filled
with Turkish rugs. Yeah.
Filled.
One Gulen group, the Texas-based Turquoise Council of Americas and Eurasians, which is mentioned in Mark's movie, sponsored trips for 3 lawmakers, 7 staff members in 2011, filing disclosures claiming it was the sole sponsor of the trips at a total cost of about $54,000. But the same organization filed an IRS tax form that year claiming it spent only $33,000 on travel. Love it when they have the magic numbers in there, with no expenditures for the travel of public officials. So what happens is, under the guise of, come and look at how, whatever, I guess the charter schools were helping, whatever it is, let's go, and I think this is, I'm in on the rugs. And these a-holes all go on these trips. And they're funded by radical elements, protected by, for everything we know, CIA. And they just happily go on these little, what the hell are they doing? What does the guy from Texas have to do in Turkey?
You know what's funny is there's in Istanbul, where they have a lot of rug dealers. There is a major rug dealer in the large market. There's one of these giant buildings that's the size of 3 football fields. That's a marketplace, and you can buy anything. They got, besides the vegetables. These Middle Eastern markets are fantastic. There's a giant rug store, and there's one of the biggest. And you go in there, and the first thing they do is they show you they have like a 3-ring binder. And it's all celebrities and politicians' pictures holding various rugs that they bought.
Oh, my.
And I'm talking George Bush. H.W. was in there. Is one I remember. Then there's a bunch of different celebrities from Hollywood, and then there's other politicians. And this is their method of confirming that they have good rugs.
That's great. All right, let's let me just take a look.
Somebody should go capture that book.
We need to let's take a look where Victoria Nuland is, because wherever she goes, actually,
in the world is Victoria Kagan Noodleman.
Yeah. Where in the world is Victoria Kagan Noodleman? Everybody, that's right. Let's take a look. Oh, Russia ready to use the Karasin Nuland format on Ukraine. That will be 2 days ago. Let's see, where is she? On a visit to Ankara. She was in Turkey last week. In Ankara. Let's see what she said here. This is from Voice of America, which, of course, is propaganda from the State Department. Well, let's see.
Yeah, that's what it's for.
What did she say? What was her thing? Of course. I guess that was just there to make sure that everything was okay for the election. Okay, we'll keep our eye on her wherever Victoria Kagan Noodleman is.
Where in the world is Victoria Kagan Noodleman? Yeah.
I'm seeing that the House ethics investigators have released their report on improper congressional trips to Azerbaijan, funded by Turkey. The House Ethics Committee has refused to release the report because it has asked investigators to stand down. Ooh.
Wow.
Respectful of the principles of transparency and accountability in the House ethics process, and with assurance that it will not prejudice any action by the Department of Justice, the OCE board has voted to release the report, including the findings of fact, withheld. Now, I got to look into this. I got to find out what's going on. So it looks like they're protecting the lawmakers from exposure that they... And Azerbaijan is a nice place to go.
Yeah.
I mean,
as long as you're not a dissident.
No, as long as you're in the oil business or if you are a guest.
Yeah, I'd love to be a guest of the government in Azerbaijan.
Hell yeah.
But you'd know that this is just like horrible.
But when you take these...
Probably have rugs there too.
When you take these lawmakers who are buying rugs, they're getting, hand jobs. God knows what they're getting for all. Certainly Shirley Jackson Jones. And then you take that one step further to know that these very same people are funding 500 charter schools in America. What are we learning? What are we teaching our kids? Turkey's great?
Outrageous.
It really is. It's disturbing.
Well,
My goodness.
All right, onward.
All right. So we have no solution, but that is a true update, and I don't think anyone can say that they're receiving that type of comprehensive coverage on the basics of this crisis, and as we're now saying, World War III.
Yeah, World War III. I do have one other update international. I got the Indonesian update.
Yeah, I haven't followed this. I'm glad you are.
We welcome you both to Democracy Now! John Sifton, in this meeting that Jokowi is having, the Indonesian president is having with President Obama, can you talk about the issues you feel President Obama needs to raise with the Indonesian president?
Well, it's too late now, and President Obama already used the cliched term of Indonesia as a tolerant Muslim democracy. We'd hope he would have talked about how Indonesia is going astray. It's losing some of its tolerant qualities and principles and starting to give too much power to Sunni extremist groups which want to basically make Indonesia a place that's unfriendly to Shia, to Christians, to Baha'i, to secularists, and to women.
Okay.
I don't know. I played that clip before. This is not going to. This is the one place in the world. I think I'd be surprised. This is the one place that's so culturally strong that I do not see this actually working out for the Islamists because of the women part of it. Anyone who's been to Indonesia knows that the women are extolled as sex symbols. And they have a lot of soap operas. They have and this is the home. I've said this probably 3-4 years ago on the show. I discussed this. The Indonesians are the dancers of the world. The women are dancers, and they dance in strip clubs. They dance on television, and they dance in a gyrating way that you can tell that the Indonesians populated the Pacific Islands. Because all these islanders all dance. You just shake their ass, or they vibrate, or they do these crazy things. But in Indonesia...
Twerking originated in Indonesia.
It wouldn't surprise me. Because if you watch... and it's on television. They have at late night, they have all the channels. Instead of porn, they just have these dancing girls. And it is outrageous. And it's so culturally important to the Indonesians to have these dancing girls everywhere that I cannot see the Islamists, although this guy's an alarmist, taking over the place because the women will just shut down their. They'll just no more sex for you.
Now
I get that sense.
Strategically, Indonesia has a lot going on. I got a whole bunch of islands.
They're burning fires. The fires are all there too. By the way, that's causing trouble everywhere.
What fires?
They got to half the places on fire.
Well, if you look at the islands that the Chinese are building in. Am I saying this right? Where are we? Hold on a second. Yeah. Which is
we're on the Strait of Hormuz.
Right.
And now we've gotten our...
That's a lot of Indonesia you've got to convert to
Indonesia is problematic.
Yeah.
And now we've got we don't have to deal with these Chinese in those islands because we've got our Philippine folks taking care of this, and there are going to be our proxies, and they're bitching.
Do they have any power, the Filipinos?
Well, they're just annoying.
They got a lot of click farms.
They will be complaining a lot, and they can do this well with our help. Anyway, that whole area is we need to follow it a little more closely.
Well, definitely. I wanted to do a little entremont before we get into our little segment get into the C and the D block. But I have to pick up a clip that we didn't play. Hold on a second. Let me just say, I think this was a 769er. Yes, we had one of these reports, which I happen to know a little bit about. Here we go.
Burns on his face, chest, and hands.
Inside Kendall Regional Medical Center in Miami, heavy sedation is keeping Evan Spallinger a step away from extreme pain.
He's my baby. He turned 21 last week.
Evan's mother, Alyssa Stefanacci, has been by his side since the accident Monday morning. Evan's sister made the call to 911 when she found her brother in another room, burned and gasping for air.
It exploded in his face. All right. Electric cigarette.
She went towards the explosion to find him completely covered in black, what appeared to be soot, throwing up, foaming from the mouth.
Now a ventilator keeps his chest moving. The blast from the e-cigarette also burned his lungs.
Okay, so I'm going to stop this report here. This was not an e-cigarette.
And before you go on, this report is being duplicated all over the country.
Oh, yes. And for good reason, because we need to put some laws into effect. And let us start off by first saying, I analyzed the report, I did the research. This was a mech mod. Let me explain the difference between that and an e-cigarette. A mech mod is pretty much a hand-built, although you can get most of the pieces individually, a hand-built vaporizer that includes a lithium battery with a switch to connect it to a hand-built coil. So people are wrapping their own coils, pretty much making a resistor of very low resistance, somewhere between 0.5 and 0.2 ohms, with cotton around it, and it's called dripping. So you drip the e-liquid, the juice. You drip the juice into the coil that you've hand-built, and then you are pretty much short-circuiting the battery through this very low resistance, and then it creates the vapor. Now, if you don't have enough juice, if you've wrapped incorrectly, there's a multitude of things that can happen to short this battery, which will explode while you're inhaling. So these are very dangerous devices. People who do this take their life into their own hands, and they need to. That's fine. We're allowed to do that in America. Blow your face off if you want, but the e-cigarettes and the majority of, although they do contain lithium batteries, which I see as a problem, all have protective devices, circuits that will cut off after 10 seconds of use. But we continue to call this e-cigarettes, which of course results in a ban.
If you use an electronic cigarette, an important warning. There is a growing danger of them exploding while you're using them. Evidently, the lithium battery that operates the e-cig can be overcharged if you use the wrong charger. Once overcharged, the battery can explode. The Department of Transportation says it is banning electronic vapor products from checked luggage, citing 26 explosions and fires since 2009.
Although there is a concerted effort by Big Tobacco to outlaw these devices so that they will be the only ones who can afford to bring these quote-unquote tobacco products back into the mainstream under proper regulation, because it'll take about $1 million for each device, for each e-liquid, each juice mixture. The Department of Transportation, specifically the PHMSA, the Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration, I have the ruling here. I think they have correctly said, you know what? Here's what you can no longer do. You cannot put vaporizer or any other type of products like this into checked luggage, because they've already had 2 suitcases catch fire from these lithium batteries that are, in mech mods that are just in someone's luggage. They got jostled around, they switch on, and yes, then they can catch fire, explode, etc.
Yes, a lot of stuff, electronic stuff, will turn itself on in the baggage.
And you are allowed to bring them on board in the cabin, although you nor the crew are allowed to charge them while on board. So one of the few times I'll give the anti-vape squad a positive nod and say, I think you're doing the right thing. But if people are serious about vaping, you need to talk to we need to have a conversation in this country about vaping with the vape community. Stop making these dangerous devices, you morons. Stop using them. Stop blowing your head off. You're ruining it for everybody.
Well, that was a message from Uncle Adam.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda. Hey, citizen. In the morning.
We have a few people to thank for show 770, which was a good number for a show. We have a big show 777 coming up.
That's right.
In about a month or so. Stephen Schwartz is at the top of the list, $178.26 from Schertz, Texas.
And he becomes a knight.
He becomes a knight. And he is KA5WJY.
Hey, 7-3 from Kilo Fox 5, Sugar Lima November.
Diana McKay in Mississauga.
You're not saying hello to our No Agenda ham friend?
I gave his call sign.
What's your call sign?
Let me think. KJ6 LNG.
Okay.
Kevin Johnson 6 liquid natural gas.
7 3s.
7 3s. What?
You're such a bogus ham.
I'm a ham. I got you to do it. I am responsible. I consider myself the guy responsible for both a bunch of people I know getting their licenses.
Yeah, it's true. True.
And I'm responsible for the development, not the development, but for the fact that the Ham Nation podcast is actually on the air.
Oh, do tell. This is wait a minute. Hold on. Stop the show.
Show stop.
You, John C. Dvorak. Kilo 6 Juliet, liquid natural gas, are responsible for the Ham Nation podcast?
I believe I am, yes.
Okay.
Why say you?
How did that happen?
When I became a ham, it got Leo incensed. So he decided to become a ham after I did. And once he did, he got into it just enough to just develop that podcast.
Huh.
If it wasn't for me,
I think
podcast would not exist.
I think he just did it to get free microphones.
No, he gets free microphones without. He was getting free microphones long before he started that podcast.
Well, I have to say, I find, unfortunately, it's a very boring podcast, and I think it shows the worst of ham radio, which is a bunch of old white dudes sitting around talking crap about how they're no longer seen as first responders. Sorry.
Well, I'm not saying that can always be corrected.
I'm just saying, I think that show it's sponsored by ICOM. It's always ICOM this, ICOM that.
You don't.
No, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. No, it's not your fault. I'm glad you did it. But there are better ham shows out there.
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I do. I know because I'm a real ham. Okay, onward.
Diana McKay comes in from Mississauga, Ontario, Canada, $129.92, which is actually a bunch of different donations pieced together. And I will make a list, so we'll put this at the end of the show. She has a couple of... actually, she should have two. I noticed this that Eric missed this. She has two birthday call-outs.
Do we have those both in the
No,
notes?
only one of them. She has hers on there, but she doesn't have her husband's October 8th belated shout-out.
Husband, what's his name?
Mr. Diana McKay. I don't know. I have to here.
Mr. Diana McKay. And his birthday is when?
The 8th of October. We missed it.
Okay.
She says that keep up your fabulous work. We can't bear to hear another radio commercial or listen to a host asking if they're allowed to say that on the air.
Are we allowed to say that on the air?
Can we say that on the air?
We're crazy. We're rock and roll. We are bad.
So put the list for the end of this call. Do a get out of my vagina Hillary cackle juice, Karma.
Oh, I have to. Okay. All right.
Yeah, let's put it on the list. Okay, onward. Paolo Tosani. What do you think? Tosiani.
Tosiani.
And $111 of Middlesex, UK. What's he talking about here? I was watching Adam's speech at the PM15.
Podcast movement. That was my acceptance speech. Go podcasting!
Clink. Wait. Do that again.
Go podcasting! Excellent.
That's the microphone hitting the floor. Klitschko.
I dropped the mic.
Morgan, $100. Lon Baker, $100. Parts unknown. Richard Hyde, Peterborough, Cambridge, UK. 999. And, coincidentally, Craig Dashnow in Ascot Vale, Victoria, Australia, 999. He wants
you did a lip smack.
Okay, thank you. At least you can spot them. I have yet to hear you do one in real time, and though you're doing them all the time. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Tim Schallberger in Bend, Oregon. 88. These are the last. A few more. 88. Congratulations. Dame Sam Menner in Box Hill, Victoria. Ryan Couture in Dallas, Texas. These are the 88s. William Brannick in Calgary, Alberta. And Sir Indipity in Coimbra, Portugal.
And these are all 88s?
Yeah, and then,
cool. That, of course, is a crate of eights. 8 balls, yes. Or 8.
He has a douche. Our Portuguese friend has a douchebag call out.
Okay.
From Lisbon regarding the Portuguese elections. What happened was the left coalition is anti-Europe, so they were banned from power. We've discussed this, I think. Have we discussed this?
Yes, we discussed it.
Eurozone crosses Rubicon at Portugal's anti-Euro left banned from power. The first, where's the call out here? More information, Telegraph.
It's to FA, the FA from Lisboa. I guess that's the party. So FA from Lisboa. Douchebag. There you go.
Not really the idea.
We have I'm working on a compendium of some Portuguese opinions on this. There's some competing opinions from producers about this fact of the left being kept out, the Eurosceptics being kept out of the coalition. we'll work on that for Thursday.
Sir Anthony Bulloch in Seddon, Victoria, 85-88. Sir Nicholas Principe, I think he's a baronet, with 73-73 is KM4DMO.
Yeah, 73 is Kilo Fox 5. Sugar Lima November.
Ditto. And he's in Fuquay, Varian, North Carolina. He did send in a note.
Do you know, I'm sorry. Do you know when a ham is a douchebag, do you know what they call him in ham language?
What?
A lid. I'm not kidding. Double D. Lid.
A lid with 2 Ds. What does it stand? It must stand for something.
Douchebag.
That'd be lidb.
I'm just reporting it.
Alan Fleetwood in Cottage Grove, Oregon, 71-64. He's almost up to knighthood. William Mitchell in Vestal, New York, 66-66, along with Sir Inside Jobs up there in Seattle, 66-66. And in Nicholas Oman in Thief River Falls, Minnesota, $60. Peter Hampshire in Gaston, Oregon, $60. And he did send in a lengthy note. He says he's a new 23-year-old donor, which again shows the spread of your listeners' demographics. He wants to be part of the Mile High Club. Well, you can do that anytime you want. Okay. That will be on the coming up.
Here we go. According to Lid is a radio operator who was either fresh from school or hasn't taken the trouble to learn to use his head and his fist at the same time. Thinking put a lid on it is there's a number.
Oh, the guys who yak too much.
I'm sorry, it's 1D. It's LID. Yeah, yak too much or just douchebags. They call them a lid. Put a lid on it. Lid. Got it.
He has a lengthy. Our new guy from Gaston has a long note that we will read as appropriate. So hang in there. William, where was I?
Gregory Davies.
Gregory Davies? Yeah. What about Peter? Okay, right. You're right. Sorry. Gregory Davies in Lawton, Oklahoma, 5950. Stephen McDonald in Cortland, Ohio, 5280. That's a mile high. Eric Hokel in Berlin, Deutschland, 52. Ron, we can use a report, by the way.
Yes, we could.
From Berlin and see what's going on. Give us a little memo of what's going on from your perspective. And if there's any interesting news items in some of the more obscure newspapers, we're game. Ron Hom in Bettendorf, Iowa, 5150. And the following people are all $50 donors, and that concludes our segment, which starts with Eiler McNeil in Sublet, Kansas, $50. Eric Miller, Norwalk, Connecticut. Shane Rozdilski in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Brian Morton in Casper, Wyoming. Dustin Martin in Salem, Oregon. Salem, don't inhale them. And that concludes. We don't have a lot today. In fact, there's very few $50 donors. So reminding you to maybe think about that sort of thing for the next show, which will be on Thursday, Dvorak.org/NA.
Yes, and we'll finish up with some of the requested jingles with a
Dvorak.org/NA.
Get out of my vagina! Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
Are you chuckling?
The combination of the get out of my vagina and then the cackle for some reason set me off chuckling.
It's good. And I do want to thank everybody who came in under $50 for reasons of anonymity, or if you're on one of our subscription plans. It's highly appreciated. Thank you very much. Without you, obviously, the show would not be going anywhere. Celebrated on the 26th of October, and she also wants a belated happy birthday shout out to her husband, Mr. Diana McKay. His birthday was on the 8th of October. Happy birthday from your buddies here at the best podcast in the universe. And then we have one knighting, Stephen Schwartz, who has no special name of note, but he does want to have the official bladage present as we bring him up onto the podium. Stephen Schwartz, thank you, sir, for your contribution and support of the best podcasting universe, the amount of $1,000 or more. Your seat here at the round table of the Knights and the Dames is open, and I hereby pronouncicate the Sir Stephen Knight of the No Agenda Round Table for you, my friend. Hookers and blow, red boys and Chardonnay, crickets and cream, cheap wine and chili dogs, pork ribs and pale ale, Maker's Mark and mushrooms, hot librarians and Jaeger bombs, opium and warm orange juice, hot pants and booze, long-haired heavy metal guys and scotch, vodka and vanilla, bong hits and bourbon, sparkling cider and escorts, and mutton and mead. Go to noagendanation.com/rings, and Eric the Shill will be very happy to hook you up. Now, a little call back to F Russia, how much everybody hates Putin. Just in time for Paris, the COP, what is it, COP 21 now? Is that what it is? The climate session?
Yeah, I think it's COP 21. I'll look it up.
Time to excoriate Vladimir Putin.
I'm Reuters correspondent Andrei Kuzmin from Russia, where President Putin has emerged as a climate change skeptic.
Oh, no!
The main issue currently affecting Russia is perhaps the increased frequency of extreme weather conditions. For the past several years, we've had droughts, floods, smoke covering the capital of Russia, Moscow. But probably one of the worst extreme weather conditions this year has been wildfires in Siberia of unseen scale. There's hardly any discussion in the Russian media of the climate change subject. Media's approach is what communications experts call climate change silence. We have reporters mainly...
Experts call this, experts who think long and hard about marketing, came up with the great term, climate change silence. Genius.
Climate change silence. We have reporters mainly covering the extreme weather events, but there's hardly any debate. The public in Russia is mainly skeptical about climate change and the causes that lead to global warming, and it could stem at the very top of the government. President Putin has been skeptical about the subject and even joked about it at global conferences. For example, saying that rising temperatures mean that Russians could spend less money on fur coats.
So be on the lookout for this meme. Vladimir Putin is a climate change denier, and he jokes about Russians not having to buy fur coats anymore because of the whopping 2 degrees centigrade increase in temperature. So just be on the lookout for all these memes just to pile on top of Vladimir. Now, this morning I was alerted to a new video. We know Arnold Schwarzenegger has been all in. He has done multiple videos. He's a great spokesman to have. And he did a video with Bill Nye, the climate guy. And here's the scene, John, because I'm going to play the audio of this. Bill Nye is lying down on a psychiatrist's couch, one of those big kind of Chesterfield leather jobbies. And he is he's confused. He can't understand why people don't buy into the man-made climate change and how we're all going to die. And guess who his psychiatrist is?
Arnold
Schwarzenegger. And they come up with, because I'm trying to figure out how is this dumb sketch, which is so dumb that even Saturday Night Live wouldn't put this sketch on. It's slow. I hacked out a lot of pauses just to try and make it move a little bit faster. So it is edited.
So it's unprofessional.
It's very professionally shot and edited, but it's dumb.
Okay.
There is a point to it, and the point is an interesting way of looking at deniers of climate change.
I don't know. I'm just not myself lately. Everything seems so meaningless and empty.
Go on.
Well, I know the planet's getting hotter and hotter, and I know we're going to have forest fires and droughts and floods like you've never seen. We're going to have storms and hurricanes, and species are disappearing. Sometimes I just want to close my eyes and pretend it's not happening. There. That's better. Maybe I'm fine. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe this whole climate change fiasco is just some sort of scam. a government scare tactic.
Yes.
Man, I hope so. What's happening to me?
It sounds to me like you're suffering from grief. Climate change grief.
Are you ready for it? Climate change grief. This is what everyone who's opposed to this bullcrap theory is suffering from, is climate change grief. And that has a logical conclusion.
Climate change grief? I mean, that's not even a thing.
That is a thing. And you are struggling with the first of 5 stages of grief. Denial.
Denial? I don't believe it.
You see, that's what I'm talking about. Here's what I want you to do. When you leave this office, you're going to go and confront denial head on.
Okay.
All right. Session is over. Why don't we see each other again next week?
Okay. Have a good weekend, Dr. Schwarzenegger.
Hasta la vista, Billy.
Okay. A very poorly executed script. But the point is...
Could that be any worse?
Climate grief is why people are... So here's the theory. People who are against the theory of man-made climate change are only doing this because the first stage of climate grief is denial.
Who came up with this idea?
For all I know, the Sierra Club.
The science is in. Science!
Which brings me to the president of the Sierra Club. This is something I've been holding on to for a couple weeks because it was Ted Cruz at a hearing with the president of the Sierra Club about anthropogenic climate change, global warming.
It was actually AGW, so it'd be anthropogenic global warming.
Yeah. But man-made climate change. And I have shortened 9 minutes down to 2. But really, you need to, and it's in the show notes, we have the full video. You really need to do yourself a favor to watch the entire video. For what Senator Cruz is doing is he is trying to get the president of the Sierra Club. Now, give us the background of the Sierra Club, John.
Well, the Sierra Club goes way back to, I think, you can look this up while I'm saying this on Wikipedia. I think to the 1800s. It was about preserving the trees in the western areas. And
right.
I think it had even some influence in the picking national parks. Yeah. I think
what the Sierra Club does these days.
But I'm not an expert on this. I'm just ad-libbing.
Right. Well, they spend a lot of. They're huge. It's a huge nonprofit. Hundreds of millions of dollars.
It became a generalized conservation, climate, whatever's popular. It became kind of a left-wing operation.
And they sue anyone who wants to open a new gas-fired plant or probably even nuclear facilities. They sue them. They're a lobbying group and try to stop anything except their agenda. And so Senator Cruz says the essence of this little piece I'm going to play first is him saying, hey, we had this stop. Do you agree that the temperatures didn't go up and we call it the pause? And the president of the Sierra Club, who cannot speak for more than 30 seconds without turning around and talking to his lawyers in the background. Well, here's the exchange.
Is it correct?
Wait, hold on, stop. Is this at a hearing?
Yes, at a hearing.
Okay.
Yeah, at a hearing. You need to see the full thing to really appreciate it, but this is just gives you a general idea of how it went down.
Is it correct that the satellite data over the last 18 years demonstrate no significant warming?
No.
How is it incorrect?
Based upon our experts, it's been refuted long ago, and it's not up for scientific debate.
I'm curious if so. It's
what? The president of the Sierra Club says it's not up for scientific debate.
Shut up, slave.
I want to understand this. I do find it highly interesting that the president of the Sierra Club, when asked what the satellite data demonstrate about warming, apparently is relying on staff.
Whisper.
The nice thing about the satellite data is these are objective numbers.
Correct.
And the numbers over the last 18 years, are you familiar with the phrase the pause?
I left all this.
Hold on. He has to ask his lawyer if he's familiar with the phrase pause?
Yes. Every question, I left that in. Every question he has to confer with his lawyers.
The answer is yes, and essentially we rest on our position.
And to what you said, you are familiar with the pause, so to what does the phrase the pause refer? I'm sorry, you said you were familiar with that term, so I asked to what does it refer?
Essentially, it's the slowing in global warming during the 40s, sir.
During the 40s?
During the 40s. Is it not the term that global warming alarmists have used to explain?
I think it's too bad that Cruz does that. But that weakens his argument when he says global warming alarm. He should not do that. That is just being a dick.
Yeah, no, he should not do that.
That's not a good idea.
During the 40s. Is it not the term that global warming alarmists have used to explain the inconvenient truth, to use a phrase popularized by former Vice President Al Gore, that the satellite data over the last 18 years demonstrate no significant warming whatsoever? Global warming alarmists call that the pause because the computer models say there should be dramatic warming, and yet the actual satellites taking the measurement don't show any significant warming.
But, Senator, 97% of the scientists concur and agree that there is global warming and anthropogenic impact with regards to global warming.
The problem with that statistic that gets cited a lot is it's based on one bogus study.
Bogus.
And indeed, your response, I would point that your response is quite striking. I asked about the science and the evidence, the actual data. We have satellites. They're measuring temperature. That should be relevant. And your answer was, pay no attention to your lying eyes and the numbers that the satellites show. Instead, listen to the scientists who are receiving massive grants who tell us, do not debate the science.
All right. The whole exchange is funny. It's just long and drawn out because the guy keeps denying it and keeps holding on to the 97% number. Cruz actually wrapped this up on a news show. I don't remember which one it was, with two little nuggets here.
He couldn't answer the most basic fact that for the last 18 years, the satellite data showed no significant warming whatsoever. Correct. He had no idea about that. He turned to his aides every minute or two. And, you know, part of the reason he didn't know the facts? Because climate change is not science. It's religion. Look at the language where they call you a denier. Denier is not the language of science. Look, I'm the child of two scientists. My parents are both mathematicians, computer programmers. My dad was a self-taught geophysicist. The essence of the scientific method is to start with a hypothesis and then look to evidence to disprove the hypothesis. You're not trying to prove it. You're trying to disprove it. Any good scientist is a skeptic. If he's not, he or she should not be a scientist. But yet the language of the global warming alarmists, denier, is the language of religion. It's heretic. You are a blasphemer. The response from the Sierra Club, we have decreed this is the answer. You must accept it. And so he didn't know his facts because he just knew his religion.
I think that's a good point.
Yeah, actually, I've been totally in on this religion idea for some time, and I think the climate, this whole AGW thing is a complete and total religion. And next show I'll bring out I actually wrote a little thing up on this, point by point. This is a religion. I mean, they have their Bible, which is the IPCC
report. Yeah,
that is the Bible. Mm-hmm. They have their saints. That would be like Al Gore.
Yeah,
and
Gina McCarthy character. Well, the Pachauri guy, he got excommunicated.
Yes, he did. But Hansen, that Hansen guy from NASA, is the other one of the other saints, and you can name the saints. And it's an extremely religious, and they hate anyone who criticizes them. They're worse than the Scientologists, for that matter.
But the word denier, that's what I really picked up on. Cruz is so right in that. That is not a term of science.
No, none of it is. The whole thing is a religion. And most of the people that are in it are not religious people, which I think accounts for a little bit of the politics of it, where you have all the climate people, the climate warmists, or whatever we want to call them.
Yeah.
Very few of them are Christian, if any. But people, I believe a lot of people have this need for religion at some level, shape, or form.
Sure,
they just need faith in something.
Yes.
And so you see a very big schism between actual Christians in this country and people that are all in on global warming. They're just not, because that is their religion, and these Christians already have a religion.
Yep.
I've got my religion. I don't need this religion.
Good point.
And so you have that schism, and then you have the Republican-Democrat thing, which is, again, if there are two groups, you want to sum them up. You'd have the Democrats as more anti-religious, more atheists are in the Democrat Party than there are in the Republican Party. That's just the way it turned out. And the Democrats are all in on global warming, and the Republicans are all, if anybody doesn't see this as political, when you see one party pretty much all in and the other party pretty much all out, you can stay on the other side, on the warmist side, and say, well, they're just stupid. They don't. But what they're really saying is that they don't have any faith. If you use all the religious arguments against them, they're sinners. The Republicans are sinners for not doing this, being part of our religion, which is a cult of sorts.
You know what saddens? Do you know what saddens me? When this chapter in world history is written, and people see what happened here, because this will eventually, be written up as one of the largest scams in history. What's unfortunate is we'll be dead. We won't be around to gloat. That's what I'm sad
I'm
about.
really not interested in gloating. I use a lot of these things as a point, and with other things too, not just this. But there's a point of ignorance that is like, why are you all in on this?
Yeah.
You have really no clue about how any of the mechanisms work, but you're all in.
Yeah.
I had guys say, you don't believe in this? And it's always believe in.
Yeah,
They
believe.
use that
You're
word,
right.
by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
You don't believe in global warming.
Yeah, good point.
I don't believe in global warming.
Good point.
And that's a religious term.
Yeah.
So it's a bit massive religion. We have the people who condemn us for being critical of this. That are some of our listeners. There's not that many, but there's a number of them. Sure. They write in. Yeah. Well, I like everything you talk about the government, this and that, but I disagree with your opinions about global warming. And it also has elements of doomsday. Yeah. All religions have a doomsday
scenario. Yeah.
And the Revelations has it for the Christians. God! If we don't
do the right thing, we're all going to die.
We're all going to die, and we're all going to be doomed.
And may I point out, the rapture includes huge floods from the sea. Could it get any more religious?
Very similar.
The earth will open up and swallow you.
Yeah, we're all going to die. We're going to get burned to death, and we're going to get cooked. And in a hell, it's like a hell, of course, because you're sinners. And it's a point for point religion. That's absolutely true.
Watch it, turn it, leave it, stop on that.
iPhone, schmyphone.
All right, everybody, it is Sunday. Time once again for Tech News here for the Tech Horny on the No Agenda Show. All right, John, what you got any tech news? Got any tech news?
I didn't have any tech news.
I got some tech news.
Wait, I got some tech news.
All right.
And I think we're going to broaden out what tech news is. Play the Chipotle clip.
Nothing like a little bit of food technology news.
Health officials are investigating an E. coli outbreak linked to several Chipotle food chains across Oregon and Washington states. More than 20 people have gotten sick in the past 2 weeks. 8 of them have been hospitalized. Chipotle has closed 43 restaurants in the area, it says, out of an abundance of caution.
Wow, this is food technology, food tech.
Yeah.
Tell us what's going on with this.
I have no idea.
But they're closing Chipotles?
In the Washington, Oregon area, where there's some contamination.
Dang. Well, I had a couple things. One, FBI hilariously has come out and said, if you get ransomware on your computer at your company or to all your computers, or and this, of course, is what happens is your computer's locked up and it says, send us 500 bitcoins,
$500,
500, well, or the equivalent. So it was a couple of bitcoins, and we'll unlock your data. The FBI says, just pay the ransom. It's easier.
What?
Yes, sir. The FBI wants companies to know.
Officer, but
the FBI wants companies to know the Bureau is there for them if they are hacked, but if the hack involves crypto locker, crypto wall, or other forms of ransomware, the nation's top law enforcement agency is warning companies that they may not be able to get their data back without paying a ransom. Quote, the ransomware is that good, Assistant Special Agent in charge of FBI's Cyber and Counterintelligence Program in the Boston office, Joseph Bonavolonta, said, to be honest, we often advise people just to pay the ransom. Thanks, FBI.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that is the non-clip of the day.
Yeah. Well, there's another one.
I don't know how I missed that.
This is very disturbing. As I have been a user of OpenDNS for many, many years, OpenDNS has been fabulous to, when you have DNS issues with your ISP, when you want to have certain types of SMTP mail forwarding. It has a nice little suite of services, including, I think OpenDNS is one of the few registrars that out of the box includes secure DNS, or SecDNS, I think is what it's called. Well, they were just bought by Cisco for $635 million in cash and assumed equity awards plus retention-based incentives. That's disappointing. You know?
What would you do?
Well, yeah, good point. But it's disappointing. I mean, I paid for the service. Lots of people paid for the service. Now it's going to Cisco. Come on. You know,
at least it didn't go to Oracle.
No, but Cisco is the routers. You know, they have all the everything you need to be evil is right in those boxes. So I found that to be extremely disappointing. And then finally, I call out, we have I know that we have at least one producer working on an Apple TV app, which Apple TV is now available. People are buying it. I think it's a great opportunity to be one of the first in with an app on, and from what I've seen, it's going to look beautiful. So I don't know if it's, I haven't even beta tested it yet, but hopefully.
Well, I will say this, since I should contribute to the tech news.
Mm-hmm.
It's very disappointing that Apple TV came out and it's not 4K.
Yes.
What is the problem here?
I don't know why they didn't do that. It seems like it wouldn't be that much harder to add that in.
No. Like right now, if you go to the Costco's, which have all the
you got the Rokus and all this stuff. It's all 4K.
Everything's 4K.
Yeah.
Roku came out with 4K, but when you go to Costco, the 1080p sets are pretty much fallen by the wayside. It's almost all 4K because the differential in price, since we're talking tech news, the delta is probably $200 maybe.
Yeah.
So why would I buy a 1080p when I can get a 4K for $200?
For the apps, man. For the apps. Yeah. There's no reason. No reason at all. And I'm a little tired of hearing tech hornies talk about how there is no 4K content. That's just factually not true. I mean, you can get Gravity has been converted to 4K,
and the newest versions of Blu-ray, I believe, should be out by Christmas, which will include 4K.
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of 4K content, but for some reason, without any actual research, there's lots of them. You buy your what is our Grand Duke's company name again? What is that again?
Well, the last time it was they changed it 2 or 3 times.
No,
and I feel bad that I don't remember it.
Now
I didn't remember it the last time.
I'm drawing this crazy ass blank for some reason. But they're the ones that have
they got a 4K streamer.
Yeah, well, they're the ones that are also converting movies. Right. I believe they're taking the, they're doing deals with companies. What is this called again? Feels stupid. I can say it 1,000 times. We'll come up.
They need to have a better name.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Yes, a better name would be better. And then finally, for dudes named Ben out there. I have been enjoying my Amazon Echo so much lately with the addition of something called the Skills API. And you can go look for this Amazon Echo Skills API. You can add things, you can add functionality into everybody's Amazon Echo that can do anything you want, like search the No Agenda show notes or play the most recent episode, or you could even do a soundboard. You ask Alexa, play You Will Obey. So I'd love to see some of our producers get in on that and add some of the, because I think this Amazon Echo has a real future. Maybe not the device as it is per se, but if they're going to bundle that into other devices, I'm just seeing big future for this thing.
Yeah, my son Buzzkill Jr.
Feels
the same way.
He loves it for the kitchen, for the timers.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I guess you can do. I don't know.
But also, if you just ask her how old someone is, she'll reply. See, Siri doesn't even do that. The Siri says, "I found something for you on the web. Take a look at this." So that's just. And I even
changed the Echo's voice. What is it, Alexa? What's the name of it?
Alexa. Yeah, that's her name.
Yeah. What was the thing you could say to it to make it play No Agenda? Alexa, play the latest No Agenda. Is that it?
Yeah, it's Alexa, play the latest episode of the No Agenda podcast.
Can you change its voice so it has a foppish British butler's accent?
I don't think so.
That's no good.
I don't think so. No. Well, anyway,
check the device out of hand.
That concludes our tech news.
The only good phone's a landline, and the phone should be made out of Bakelite.
All right, everybody. All right, tech news.
I have a little kind of an Ask Adam thing.
You always say it's kind of an Ask Adam thing, and I always have to say, well, does that mean I should play the jingle?
Yes.
Ask Adam, will he know or will he won't? I don't know, but here we go. Ask Adam.
Yeah.
So play this, and I have a question. This is These Conversations.
Okay, here we go.
With these conversations being very sacred to me, although definitely imperfect and not precious.
Okay. Now I'm going to have to guess where this is from?
Well, you might know where it's from since I sent you a link to it.
When did you send me said link?
Well, play it one more time and maybe you'll recognize it.
With these conversations being very sacred to me, although definitely imperfect and not precious.
This is, I know the answer. Coach, know the answer. This is the inaugural podcast by Alanis Morissette.
Right.
Yeah.
Wait. That's not the real question.
That's not the real question.
Play it one more time.
Okay.
With these conversations being very sacred to me, although definitely imperfect and not precious.
Okay.
What is she talking about? Sacred but imperfect and not precious. What does that mean?
Sacred but not perfect but precious. I think it means...
No, not precious. Sacred.
Let me listen to it again. Hold on.
Precious.
With these conversations being very sacred to me, although definitely imperfect and not precious.
I think it's about juice.
Oh my gosh. Can you see that juice?
All right, what is the...
You are right.
Is that what the conversation is? We'd have a conversation in this country about juice.
People should track down this podcast so they can listen to the first
No, stop. Do not track down this podcast. Do not listen to this podcast. It will make your head blow up. It is crap. It is a horrible podcast. What exactly was their conversation about?
Well, if you listen to the whole beginning, I should have clipped that too. It was about guys. Just, hi, friend. I love you. I love you too. Oh no, I love you more. No, I love you.
I love you.
I love you more.
I love you.
I love you. I'm going to kill you if I loved you anymore.
All right.
On.
I have a couple clips here regarding our presidential election. I'm glad we saved this all the way to the end of the show. For once, we put the Americana news at the end. Very good. And I would say the biggest news is this.
Now, the Republican Party is suspending February's NBC News Telemundo debate, the only debate to be aired on Spanish-language TV. Writing, CNBC's moderators engaged in a series of gotcha questions, petty and mean-spirited in tone, and designed to embarrass our candidates. CNBC said this week people who want to be president of the United States should be able to answer tough questions. NBC News, owned by the same parent company as CNBC, calls the suspension a disappointing development, but promises to work in good faith to resolve this matter with the Republican Party.
This is an interesting development.
I'm stunned that didn't happen right after those debates. And they're not talking about tough questions. They were talking about, we heard it, insulting questions.
Yeah.
They were just plain. Hey, you got a booger in your nose?
Why do you have a booger in your nose?
Yeah, it's horrible, and that's NBC. But NBC's been in the pockets of the Democrat Party for God knows how long.
Well, here is your friend John Hardwood, as you like to call him, although his name is Harwood. Then his response.
Well, I thought Rubio did a very effective job, and he, like other candidates, went after the media, which is a popular thing to do in a Republican primary. He and other candidates, Chris Christie, Ted Cruz, they got a lot of mileage with Republican primary voters by going after us.
Yeah, they went after us, a-hole. They went after us. This is horrible. How about Chuck Todd?
The media was the opponent, not on the stage right with them, but clearly a big part of this debate. Fairly or unfairly, this is a winning strategy for candidates.
Well, it is, and Cruz captured the moment better than anybody. Look, in many ways, this was a premeditated attack. There had been some leaked ideas that, beforehand they were going to go after the moderators and say, hey, the Democrats didn't get questions like this, and they determined this before the debate even started.
Bull crap.
They said it was premeditated. They had a strategy. We're all going to go after the media. Now, when you start asking about fantasy football, which, by the way, and I say that specifically, Jeb Bush is the odd man out here. He's the one that took the fantasy football league question seriously and started answering it.
Yeah, I know.
So he's a he's a real idiot.
He's a dummy.
Okay, now we have something different. Charlie Rose, who is stretched too thin. Charlie Rose with his Charlie Rose.
This has been my thesis for months on end.
Yeah, you are right.
He's working too much.
He's working too much. He's doing the morning show. It's so he doesn't get enough sleep. He doesn't get to delve into the issues. And when we think about the Benghazi hearing with Hillary Clinton, the true thing that came out that the mainstream media pretty much ignored, and I will say they have some right to ignore it, because we had that a-hole Republican who said, well, as you can tell, Hillary's numbers are going down every single time we talk about Benghazi. So they have, so the Benghazi hearings are now, because of that misstatement, truth, but because of the way it was handled, the mainstream media is like, we're not going to talk too much about the fact that Hillary lied within 30 minutes of the attack. She was emailing Chelsea and other family members that it was a terrorist attack, and then she kept on lying for weeks on end that it was about a video. But Charlie Rose doesn't even know about that lie, witnessed this exchange between him, and he's really going after Marco Rubio here, and he's pissed. Charlie is pissed.
But I've never personally...
I'm sorry. Oops. Here we go.
But I've never personally attacked anybody in this race, and I'm not going to start now. If other people decide they want to change the
you called Hillary Clinton a liar, Senator. You called Hillary Clinton a liar.
Well,
woo! Don't you dare call the Hildebeest a liar.
Well, no, I said Hillary Clinton lied about Benghazi. There's no doubt about that, Charlie. I mean, there are emails in which she was talking to her family, and she was telling them that there was an attack on that consulate that was due to a terrorist attack by al-Qaeda elements, and then she was going around the country talking to the families of the victims and to the American people and saying, no, this is because of some video that someone produced
Senator,
that led to a spontaneous uprising.
That the CIA was changing its own...
Now, this is interesting. Charlie thinks that the talking points changed by the CIA, and that's why there was this confusion. But he apparently just does not know that the change came within 30 minutes of the attack while the attack was ongoing. So he's poorly informed here.
Assessment of what happened there during that time zone.
That's not that's not accurate. It was clear from the very early moments after that attack that it was not a spontaneous uprising. It was a planned attack, well orchestrated by people that brought armaments to that attack that you would never see as part of a spontaneous uprising. What was very clear is that from the very early moments of that attack, she knew that it was a terrorist attack, as she shared by email with various people. And yet she continued to perpetuate the lie.
If you're calling her a liar by saying she perpetuated a lie, then why do you think she did that? What was her motive?
This is a very good question. And the answer, although ours varies somewhat, is still on track.
Well, that's very clear why. Because they were in the middle of a 2012 re-election in which President Obama had made the claim that al-Qaeda was being defeated and on the run, and this counteracted that narrative.
You were saying, Senator, that Hillary Clinton lied because she wanted to help Barack Obama in his re-election campaign. That's a serious charge.
Yes. Yes, it is, Charlie. How can this he needs to stop working this much. He's uninformed.
You're right. He's obviously didn't know anything about it. He didn't see the hearings, didn't know about
he bought into the talking points that are put in front of him.
Whatever he's thinking, he's misinformed.
And meanwhile, Hillary Clinton has grabbed the bull by the horns and is running around the country with her. Now, I want you to listen to what she's saying, and she's insane. She's now off her rocker, and the way she's projecting and how she's speaking, she's hysterical.
She likes to scream.
Oh, yes. Okay, so here's a little opener. This was in Atlanta. This is I think Atlanta high school. Looked to me like 95% African Americans in the audience.
So stand on this stage today.
Oh, this is the opener. This is the guy. This is the guy who introduced her. I don't know who he is.
So stand on this stage today and present to you the next president of the United States of America, Hillary Clinton.
Now, what does she then do? She decides to tie into the president's current mission to change sentencing guidelines for whites versus black. This has been ongoing for a long time.
This is the famous crack cocaine versus powder cocaine talking point.
Yes, talking point. But when you listen to it...
Thank you all very much. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate the congressman and the mayor having my back.
Having my back. Now, oh, boy. All right. Someone told, hey, you want to be hip with the blacks? Hey, say, God, you got my back. Having my... But she's so white. Having my back. Like, I got your back. Like, hey, babe, I got your back. I got your back. No, having my back. Oh, someone please give Hillary some cultural lessons.
My back.
Having my back.
And today I'm also pledging to eliminate the disparity in sentencing still between crack and cocaine, which disproportionately impacts African Americans and puts too many people in prison.
We can do coke without going to jail. Woo! Cocaine! Woo! That's what the message is. Do coke. Do crack. You're not going to go to jail. Woo! And here she is going off the rails.
So I'm here to say thank you. Thank you to this university. Thank you to Atlanta. Thank you to the pioneers of the civil rights movement, and to issue a challenge that all of us continue the work. Let's make sure we finish it in the name of our values and our love for America. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Me, Hillary Clinton.
You better watch out. She's going to snort you. I'm sorry. That's just disgusting. You can all do crack! Okay, final one. Camille Paglia.
Oh, yes.
Camille Paglia. Who is Camille Paglia?
Camille Paglia is one of the leading anti-feminist feminists.
What is that?
Intellectual. She's an anti-feminist feminist. When I say that, people who know who she is will understand what that means. I always thought she was like one of the greatest essayists I've ever read. She is not as active as she used to be, like I'd say maybe 6-7 years ago. Mm-hmm. And she's very intelligent and very good essayist. I knocked her, what I thought was greatness, down a few notches when I found out that her essay, she'll write like a 2,500-word essay, will sometimes take her 6 months to write. Well, that is not the same as cranking these things out, which I think is a different. But I've always, and she's a massively, she's a massive lesbian, not big in terms of fat. She's just a major voice in the lesbian community.
Do you like what she writes?
Yeah, I do actually.
Let me see. Looking at the Book of Knowledge, Paglia characterizes herself as a Clinton Democrat and libertarian. She opposes laws against prostitution, pornography, drugs, and abortion. Cocaine! Paglia criticized Bill Clinton for not resigning after the Monica Lewinsky scandal. That's where it happened, which she says paralyzed the government. So, but you like her. You think but she is a Democrat.
Yeah, not this. I'm apolitical. I'm an independent. I read.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that she. I'm not saying you can't. This is not about you liking her or not. I'm happy that you like her, but that she is a Democrat and you wouldn't expect her to go against Hillary.
If you just asked me out of the blue, if Camille Paglia would be for or against Hillary, I would be totally convinced she's not a big Hillary fan.
Well, that would be a soft expression of what she thinks about Hillary Clinton. Stand by.
What is it about Hillary that bothers you?
She's a fraud, okay?
Explain how is she a fraud?
Hillary is a mess, okay? And we're going to reward with the presidency a woman who has enabled, okay, the depredations and the exploitation of women, okay, by that corn-pone husband of hers, and so on. I mean, it's like the way feminists have made themselves blind, okay, to Hillary's record, okay, of trashing. They were going to try to destroy Monica Lewinsky, and so on. I mean, it's a scandal. Anyone who believes in sexual harassment guidelines, okay, should have seen that the disparity of power between Clinton and Monica Lewinsky was one of the most grotesque ever, okay, in the history of sex crime. Okay, he's a sex criminal, and so on. We're going to put that guy back in the White House, okay? Hillary is ridden on his coattails. Yeah. This is not a woman who has her own career, made her own career. She's a woman who failed the bar exam in Washington.
But she didn't say okay all the time.
That's too bad, isn't it?
But she's one of those types of essayists. I mean, a lot of people, she's not erudite, but she's a great writer, and I'm sure her essays on Hillary are probably like real jaw droppers.
Yeah. There you go.
But yeah, that's Camille Paglia.
And that's all I have for today, John, unless you have something you want to play us out with.
Well, let's see what I got left. San Ramon. Oh, Plague. Might as well play a little Plague stuff just to give, so we can keep the balance correct. Play the Plague.
Well, it's a disease most people associate with the medieval ages and not present day. We're talking about the bubonic plague. You might be surprised to learn that doctors in Oregon are treating a teenage girl with a rare case of the disease that she likely contracted during a local hunting trip. This year, more people have been diagnosed with the plague since 2006. NBC national correspondent Miguel Almaguer has our report tonight.
A teenage girl in Bend, Oregon caught the bubonic plague from a flea. Tonight, she's being treated at this hospital.
Oh, no.
Though cases of the plague are rare, 16 this year in the U.S., the disease is common in the wild.
The most common source of the plague bacteria is in rodents, rats, squirrels, prairie dogs.
If early, the plague can be treated with antibiotics.
I'm very, very, very sick.
It was a close call for 7-year-old Sierra Jane Downing, bitten by an infected insect 2 years ago. Today, she's healthy.
We were both in a state of shock.
Lucinda Marker and her husband John Toll both caught the plague with its flu-like symptoms.
What John and I both felt were fevers, tremendous fevers, aches and pains, and an extreme lack of energy.
John died of cancer, but Lucinda believes the plague played a role. The epidemic swept through Asia, Europe, and Africa in the 14th century, killing some 50 million people. In 1900, the disease arrived in the U.S. on ships infested with rats. Today, the plague is still here. This summer in Yosemite, campgrounds were closed and sprayed for insects. A disease many thought was long gone is rare, but still a threat.
Excellent.
There you go.
Excellent.
Now you know. It's still with us.
Yeah. Oh, fine.
This is more harem scarum news. I love that stuff on
that is correct.
NBC.
All right, everybody. Thank you all very much. there any football I should be watching today, or baseball or something?
Well, the baseball might be a good game to watch. The World Series, right now, the Mets are ahead, 3-1, and so if they win tonight, they'll win the series. And it's a Sunday night game, or Sunday game. It should be dynamite. It's just these two teams are probably the best that have played in the World Series against each other that we've seen for a long time. In past years, last 5 or 6 years, it's always been the Cardinals and the Giants winning it. It's not as entertaining.
Okay. So I don't have to watch it.
This might be the game. Yeah, I would say the way the Kansas City team is just a dogged, very interesting team to watch.
Okay. I shall watch this then.
Yeah, I think you should.
Okay. Very good.
And in the back, of course, don't stay glued to it. They play too many commercials.
Okay. We'll do that, and I will continue to enjoy my beachfront property here in Austin, Texas. In the morning, everybody, coming to you from FEMA Region 6 here in the Crackpot Condo, downtown Austin. My name's Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where I will give the report very late in the show, which is that the mudflats are still there. I'm John C. Dvorak.
Thank you very much. Sorry we forgot that. We'll do another report on Thursday, right here on No Agenda. Remember us at Dvorak.org/NA.
Where in the world is Victoria Cake and Noodleman? Yeah.